there are moments in history that don't fit. Echoes of events, places, and people that linger like shadows on the edge of understanding. Unresolved, unrelenting, and profoundly unsettling. These are not just stories lost to time. These are fractures in what we think we know. Imagine an ancient structure built with precision we still can't replicate. A message encoded in stone. Language long dead, meaning never found. Or a disappearance so complete it defies logic. Whole communities swallowed by silence, their last traces buried beneath centuries of dust and doubt. For every monument we celebrate, for every date etched in textbooks, there are countless enigmas left unexplained. Whispers of civilizations that may have never been fully known, technologies misplaced in time, and decisions that altered the world without leaving a trace of why. These are the mysteries that history cannot, and perhaps will not, explain. So sit back, relax, and let's dive deeper into the unknown. This is 3 hours of chilling unsolved mysteries that history can't explain. And it all begins now. Nestled deep in the folds of a remote forest, far from modern roads and rarely marked on any official map, once stood a quiet village, unassuming, self-sufficient, and to many entirely forgettable. Dense pine trees loomed like sentinels over the crumbling remnants, and a perpetual fog seems to cling to the area, as though reluctant to let go of the past. Today, all that remains are weather-worn stone foundations, a few scattered tools rusted beyond use, and silence. Not just the silence of nature, but a silence that feels deliberate, as if the land itself is holding its breath. The place is known by locals as Calanith Hollow, though on government registries and old census records, no such name is listed. It's almost as though it never existed. But stories passed down through generations tell of a community that once thrived here, modest in number, devout in tradition, and fiercely private. Then, one autumn night in the late 19th century, something happened. By morning, the village was gone, not destroyed, not relocated, just gone. How does a whole village vanish overnight? Reports from that era are sparse but not entirely absent. A regional land survey from 1877 noted visible signs of habitation in the area. Cultivated fields, livestock, and thin trails of smoke from several hearths. Yet, only 2 years later, a follow-up expedition made no mention of the settlement at all. No structures, no people, no fires burning. Even the fields, once carefully tilled, had begun to be reclaimed by weeds and wild growth. The disappearance might have been dismissed as a clerical error or a case of mistaken location, were it not for a chilling detail found in a leather-bound field journal belonging to surveyor Thomas Greaves. In his final entry dated October 2nd, 1879, he wrote, "The air here feels wrong. The stillness is unnatural, oppressive. We found no inhabitants, only crude symbols etched into door frames and boundary stones. Every house unlocked, every bed empty, even the animals gone. It's as though the people walked away mid-breath and never returned." That entry was the last time anyone officially documented the site. In the decades since, Calanith Hollow has been the subject of quiet curiosity, urban legend, and in some cases, genuine academic inquiry. Some researchers propose a simple explanation. Famine or disease may have struck the isolated village, prompting survivors to flee. It's plausible, especially given the region's harsh winters and rudimentary access to medical care at the time. But even this theory has its inconsistencies. No bodies were ever found, no grave sites, no indication of a hasty departure. Meals had been left uneaten, fires still smoldered. And according to folklore, anyone who dared to stay overnight in the village afterward would hear whispers in the trees and feel eyes watching them from the dark. Could a natural disaster be to blame? Sinkholes, landslides, and flash floods have swallowed entire settlements before. But Calanith sits on relatively stable ground, and there is no geological evidence to suggest such an event ever occurred there. Then there are the symbols Greaves described, crude, geometric patterns carved into wood and stone. Some resemble protection marks used in European folk traditions, apotropaic symbols meant to ward off evil. Others are harder to categorize. Linguists and cryptographers have studied them, but none have definitively cracked their meaning. Some say they're talismans, others think they're warnings. This is where the story begins to shift, from the factual to the speculative. One theory suggests the village may have practiced a form of pagan ritualism long forgotten by mainstream history. Oral accounts from nearby towns speak of strange ceremonies conducted under the full moon and of eerie choral sounds drifting through the forest at night. Could the village have been centered around a belief system that led to mass exodus, or something darker? Another hypothesis leans toward psychological phenomena, collective hysteria, isolation-induced delusion, or even mass psychogenic illness could, theoretically, drive a group of people to abandon their homes, especially if they believed a supernatural force was at work. But this still doesn't explain the absence of bodies, belongings, or a trail. People leave footprints. These villagers left none. Perhaps most unnerving is the idea that the village didn't leave at all, that something else took its place, something that defies our understanding of time, space, and physical presence. Fringe theorists propose the concept of a thin place, a location where the boundary between realities becomes permeable. Calanith, they argue, might sit atop such a convergence. Did the villagers cross into something else, or did something from the other side cross into them? It's easy to dismiss such notions as fantasy. Yet every search party, every researcher, every curious traveler who's returned from the hollow reports the same inexplicable feeling, that they are not alone, that something remains, not visible, not audible, but present. Modern exploration of the site is rare. A preservation law passed quietly in the early 1990s designated the forest around Calanith Hollow as a protected zone, citing ecological concerns. Yet no official studies have been published. No wildlife surveys, no forestry reports, just fences and warnings. Why preserve an area with no known significance? Why block access to a place the government insists never existed? As with many historical mysteries, the truth may lie buried beneath layers of time, silence, and human forgetfulness. But as long as questions remain, so too does the possibility that Calanith Hollow holds answers, not just to what happened there, but to deeper, older questions about the limits of our knowledge and the edges of our world. What truly happened to the cursed village that vanished overnight? And if the past can disappear so completely, could it return just as suddenly? In the high desert of northern New Mexico, where the Sangre de Cristo Mountains rise like ancient monoliths against a pale, sun-bleached sky, lies the small, quiet town of Taos. It is a place of stark beauty, adobe homes blending with the earth, juniper-scented breezes drifting through dry air, and a silence so profound it seems to press in from the surrounding wilderness. But not everyone hears silence here. For decades, a growing number of residents and visitors have reported something else, a low, persistent noise. Not loud, not even immediately identifiable, but once noticed, impossible to ignore. It is not the buzz of electrical wires or the hum of machinery. This sound, they say, seems to come from nowhere and everywhere all at once. A faint droning, like an engine idling just beyond the horizon. They call it the Taos hum. First brought to national attention in the early 1990s, the phenomenon was documented following a spate of complaints from locals who claimed the noise was disrupting their lives, causing headaches, insomnia, even feelings of anxiety and dread. Described as a low-frequency vibration, somewhere between 30 and 80 hertz, the hum seemed to lack a clear origin or source. Some heard it inside buildings, others only outdoors. Some described it as rhythmic, others as more like a pulsing wave. Still, others heard nothing at all. Curiously, studies suggest that only a small fraction of people in Taos, perhaps 2 to 5%, can actually hear the hum. These individuals, known as hearers, often describe it as inescapable. Once detected, the sound doesn't go away. It follows them, even when they leave the area. It is, in their words, felt as much as heard, a pressure in the ears, a vibration in the chest, something just beneath the threshold of audible sound. In 1993, spurred by the growing public interest and concern, a team of scientists from the University of New Mexico, Los Alamos National Laboratory, and Sandia National Laboratories conducted a formal investigation. They brought sensitive audio equipment, analyzed environmental data, and interviewed dozens of residents. Their findings were inconclusive. While some low-frequency sounds were detected in the area, likely linked to distant industrial sources or natural geophysical activity, none matched the specific descriptions of the Taos hum. No consistent sonic source could be isolated. So, what is it? Several theories have emerged over the years, each attempting to ground the phenomenon in science, psychology, or something more speculative. One popular explanation suggests that the hum may be a result of man-made infrastructure, namely the low-frequency vibrations emitted by long-distance transmission lines, pipelines, or military communication systems. These sounds can sometimes travel great distances through the Earth and atmosphere, unheard by most, but potentially perceptible to those with more sensitive hearing or unusual physiological responses. Others believe the hum may originate within the human body itself. Tinnitus, for example, is a condition where individuals hear ringing or buzzing in the ears in the absence of external stimuli. But the Taos hum differs in key ways. Its description is remarkably consistent across individuals, and it is often described as external and environmental, not internal or subjective. Still, the possibility of a shared perceptual experience tied to stress, attention, or auditory sensitivity remains a plausible interpretation. There's also the notion that certain low-frequency sounds, so-called infrasound, below the range of human hearing, might cause physical sensations mistaken for audible sound. These waves can be produced by natural events such as earthquakes, wind interacting with mountainous terrain, or even ocean waves traveling through the Earth's crust. Some experiments have shown that infrasound can cause feelings of unease, nausea, or discomfort in humans, even if they don't consciously register the sound itself. Yet Taos remains an anomaly. Other hum phenomena have been reported in places like Bristol in the UK, Largs in Scotland, and even parts of Canada. But few have persisted as long, or as mysteriously, as the one in this quiet corner of New Mexico. As scientific inquiry has reached its limits, more fringe theories have begun to take hold. Some propose that the hum is a byproduct of classified military activity, low-frequency weapons, surveillance systems, or experiments involving electromagnetic fields. New Mexico, after all, is no stranger to secrecy, being home to both Los Alamos and the White Sands Missile Range. Others wonder if the hum might be a kind of geological whisper, an expression of tectonic strain or deep earth resonance, revealing something hidden beneath the crust. There is even a small but dedicated community who believe the hum may signal a shift in consciousness or perception, a sort of biological response to changes in the environment or even the fabric of reality itself. Of course, none of these ideas, scientific or speculative, has been proven. Each leaves more questions than answers. Why does the hum affect only a small percentage of people? Why is it concentrated in specific areas, yet seemingly immune to detection by instruments? Why does it inspire such profound distress in some, yet go completely unnoticed by others? Is it a sound we haven't yet learned how to measure? Or is it something else entirely? An experience that lies somewhere between physics and perception, between reality and belief. To this day, the Taos hum remains unsolved. For those who hear it, it's a constant reminder that not everything in our world can be easily explained. For those who don't, it's a mystery rendered even more elusive by its invisibility. But whether real, imagined, or something in between, the hum continues to echo, not just in the desert air, but in the quiet spaces between what we understand and what we can only sense. And perhaps that is the most unsettling truth of all, that even in the age of satellites and sensors, of science and certainty, there are still sounds in the world that defy explanation, still questions that reverberate through time, just beneath the threshold of hearing. From the wind-swept mesas of New Mexico to the far reaches of the northern frontier, the trail of unsolved mysteries stretches across the map like a series of quiet questions etched into the land itself. But as we leave behind the low, relentless hum of Taos, we step now into something colder, stranger. A mystery that lies buried in silence, concealed beneath miles of snow and ice. Here, in the unforgiving wilds of Alaska's Brooks Range, the land is ancient and largely untraveled. Jagged peaks rise like frozen waves beneath a sky that shifts from bone-white daylight to star-scarred night in a matter of hours. The air is thin. The silence is complete. It's in this vast remote expanse that whispers of an enigma have begun to surface, one that challenges our understanding not only of the region, but perhaps of human history itself. They call it the Silent Sphinx. No official name exists. No coordinates are shared in public records. What we know comes pieced together through satellite anomalies, accounts from backcountry pilots, and a few curious lines buried in government archives. The story begins in the 1980s when a routine aerial survey, reportedly conducted by a private geological contractor, captured an unusual formation in a glacier-covered region north of the Yukon River. From above, the shape appeared unnatural, symmetrical, angular, incongruent with the surrounding geology. Roughly the size of a small aircraft hangar, the structure had the appearance of a massive, partially exposed sculpture. A shape resembling a reclining feline form, its face marked by what looked eerily like carved vertical features. Too deliberate, too aligned to be dismissed as coincidence. The photograph was quietly filed away. But years later, following a renewed wave of interest in ancient Earth anomalies, the image resurfaced on obscure online forums and in independent investigative circles. The comparisons began almost immediately, some calling it Alaska's Sphinx, referencing its resemblance to the iconic guardian of Egypt's Giza Plateau. Others were more cautious, noting that while the shape was certainly unusual, the frozen landscape often plays tricks on the eye. But as more satellite imagery was requested and further scans conducted using publicly available radar data, a pattern began to emerge. Beneath the ice, beneath layers of permafrost dating back tens of thousands of years, there appeared to be structure, depth, internal chambers perhaps, cavities where solid rock should be. So what exactly is buried there? The mainstream geological explanation is conservative and careful. What we are likely seeing, they say, is a product of natural glacial processes. A mountain partially exposed through millennia of ice movement and erosion, whose shape mimics familiar forms through a phenomenon known as pareidolia, the brain's tendency to recognize patterns, especially faces, in random data. But this particular formation resists easy categorization. Its symmetry is striking. The angles it forms don't resemble the chaotic breaks of glacial rock, and its apparent orientation, aligned almost exactly along cardinal directions, mirrors alignments found in other ancient architectural sites across the globe. Could this be the work of an earlier civilization? The idea, while controversial, is not entirely without precedent. In recent years, discoveries such as Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, an intricately carved site dated to over 11,000 years ago, have forced a re-evaluation of human capability during the prehistoric period. If such complex structures existed well before the rise of Mesopotamia and the Egyptian dynasties, might other lost monuments still lie hidden beneath our feet? Or, in this case, beneath the ice? Fringe theorists and independent researchers have suggested the Alaskan site may be evidence of a forgotten chapter in human history, perhaps a relic of a pre-Ice Age civilization wiped out by cataclysmic events. Some even connect it to global flood myths and polar shifts, pointing to ancient oral traditions among indigenous Alaskan tribes that speak of beings sleeping in the mountains, of sacred places swallowed by snow long before modern memory. But skepticism remains strong. Official expeditions to the location are rare, and when attempted, often abandoned due to extreme weather, terrain instability, or lack of support. In one instance, a private expedition team claimed to have approached within 5 miles of the site before a sudden blizzard forced a retreat. Upon return, they reported strange magnetic anomalies affecting their instruments. Whether those were natural disturbances or something else remains unknown. There is also the matter of restricted airspace. While not widely publicized, certain regions around the Brooks Range are designated as off-limits for civilian aircraft. Some researchers believe this is coincidental, due to military activity or wildlife conservation efforts. Others aren't so sure. A few go further, proposing that the area has been monitored or studied quietly for years, its secrets kept out of public discourse. Still, no conclusive excavation has been undertaken. No team has confirmed what lies beneath the ice. And so, the structure, whatever it is, remains frozen in place, silent, watching. Is it merely a geological quirk shaped by time and weather? Or is it a monument to something long forgotten? An ancient sentinel buried by a world that no longer remembers who built it or why? The landscape here is one of permanence, of slow, glacial time. And yet, even in this frozen stillness, questions linger. Could the truth be preserved beneath layers of frost, waiting for the right hands and the right moment to uncover it? As we continue to peer into the hidden corners of our world, perhaps this silent figure beneath the Alaskan ice is not just a mystery to be solved, but a reminder. A reminder that history, like the land, often keeps its greatest secrets buried deep. From the whispers surrounding the sleeping prophet's tomb, our journey now moves to a place far older, one cloaked not in words or ice, but in smoke. Yet this is no ordinary fire. It is a blaze that defies explanation. An ancient city that, to this day, seems to burn without flame. Nestled deep within the remote deserts of Central Asia, near the borderlands of modern Turkmenistan, lies the site known as Darvaza, often called the door to hell. Here, a vast crater of fire rages ceaselessly. A fiery pit whose origins trace back to the 1970s, when Soviet geologists drilling for natural gas inadvertently punctured a massive underground cavern. To prevent the release of poisonous gases, they set it aflame, expecting it to burn out in days or weeks. Instead, it has been burning continuously for more than 5 decades, casting an eerie glow visible from miles around. But that is just the beginning. Close to this modern inferno are ruins of an ancient settlement, whose origins are as murky as the fire itself. Some archaeologists link the city, known locally as Merv, to the ancient Silk Road, a thriving hub that flourished over 2 millennia ago. Historical texts recount Merv as a center of culture and commerce, a melting pot of civilizations, ideas, and trade routes stretching from China to the Mediterranean. What sets Merv apart from other ancient cities, however, is a peculiar archaeological enigma: structures and layers of ash, charred but oddly preserved, suggesting a massive conflagration in its distant past. Yet the city's destruction remains an enigma. There are no clear signs of warfare or volcanic activity. No accounts speak of a typical burning. Could there be a connection between this ancient burning and the modern fires of Darvaza? Some scholars propose that the region's abundant natural gas reserves, trapped beneath the desert sands, have long influenced local events. Was the ancient city consumed by a subterranean fire, one sparked not by human hands but by geological forces beyond comprehension? Could methane pockets have ignited naturally, through lightning strikes or seismic activity, leading to a slow, smoldering destruction? Evidence uncovered by recent excavations reveals strange layers of fused stone, vitrified walls, and heat-altered soil, materials that point to extreme temperatures but no clear source of ignition. How does an entire city endure such heat without evidence of traditional flames or ash? The question lingers. The notion of a city consumed by fire without fire itself invites more speculative ideas. Could this be the remnant of an ancient technology, now lost, that harnessed geothermal or chemical energy in ways we cannot yet understand? Some propose that Merv was home to early alchemists or proto-industrial processes, furnaces and kilns that, when abandoned or sabotaged, triggered an unstoppable chain reaction underground. Others point toward legends embedded in local folklore, tales of divine punishment, of fire falling from the heavens, or of sacred flames burning eternally beneath the earth. Might there be a kernel of truth hidden within these stories? Could they reflect memories of natural phenomena beyond the scope of ancient science? Modern investigations have also revealed mysterious underground cavities and networks beneath Merv. Are these simply ancient aqueducts and storage chambers, or do they conceal more enigmatic features, perhaps channels of gas and heat that fuel the city's hidden fires? The parallels between the ancient and the modern are striking. Just as Soviet engineers inadvertently ignited Darvaza's inferno, might the people of Merv have triggered something similar millennia ago? Was the city's destruction the unintended consequence of human interaction with a volatile environment? Yet, despite ongoing research and excavation, no definitive answers emerge. The heat-altered stones defy easy explanation, and the silence of the desert preserves its secrets well. The mystery of the city that burns without flame remains etched in the sands, an open question waiting for the right tools or the right moment to reveal itself. Could the fires beneath Darvaza be a modern echo of an ancient catastrophe? Might the burning city of Merv remind us that beneath the surface of the earth, and beneath the layers of history, there are forces still beyond our control or understanding? As night falls over the desert, the glow of the Darvaza crater serves as a stark beacon, lighting the way toward mysteries that refuse to be extinguished. And in that flickering light, one wonders, what other secrets what other ancient truths might still be smoldering, waiting to be discovered. From the smoldering sands of Central Asia, where ancient cities burn without flame, our path now returns to the timeless deserts of Egypt, home to mysteries etched in stone and shadows, and the haunting tale of a ruler whose identity seems to have vanished from history itself. This is the story of the mask of the Faceless Pharaoh. It begins in the early 20th century, when Egyptian archaeologists uncovered a tomb unlike any other, deep within the Valley of the Kings. The burial site bore signs of great age and grandeur, walls adorned with intricate hieroglyphs, chambers filled with offerings, and a sarcophagus crafted from solid alabaster. Yet something was profoundly unusual. The funerary mask that should have been the centerpiece was missing its defining feature. Where a face should have been carved or painted, there was only a smooth, featureless surface. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. A blank, alabaster visage that seemed to stare not outward but inward, into a silence that defied explanation. This discovery sent ripples through the archaeological community. The tomb was attributed to a previously unknown pharaoh, tentatively named Neferkapta by some scholars after inscriptions found nearby. Yet there is no historical record of such a ruler in the annals of Egypt's dynasties. How could such a figure, buried with royal honors, leave so little trace in the historical record? Why was the mask so deliberately void of features? Traditional Egyptology offers cautious theories. Some suggest that the faceless mask was a ritualistic symbol, a representation of the pharaoh's transition from the mortal world into the realm of the gods. In this interpretation, the blank face signifies the shedding of earthly identity, an intentional erasure meant to protect the king's soul in the afterlife. Others propose that the mask's surface was originally painted or inlaid with precious materials that have since deteriorated or been looted, leaving behind only a ghostly outline. Yet these explanations do not satisfy all. The craftsmanship of the mask's surface is too precise, too deliberate, to be the result of decay or theft. And the tomb itself, undisturbed by grave robbers, suggests the facelessness was intentional and integral. Could this be a sign of something else entirely? Speculative voices have proposed that the facelessness reflects a lost chapter of Egyptian history, one in which a pharaoh was deliberately erased from memory, a victim of political upheaval or damnatio memoriae, the ancient practice of erasing a person's name and image from history. But if so, why bury this ruler in royal splendor, yet remove the face that identifies him? Others turn to more enigmatic ideas, suggesting the pharaoh's identity was concealed to hide forbidden knowledge or a secret lineage, perhaps connected to esoteric orders, or a bloodline believed to carry supernatural power. Could the mask symbolize anonymity as protection, shielding the king's true nature from the mortal realm, or from enemies seeking to erase his influence? Adding to the mystery are unusual artifacts found within the tomb. Among the grave goods were amulets and scrolls, bearing symbols unfamiliar to traditional hieroglyphic systems, some resembling geometric patterns, others akin to constellations or celestial maps. Do these hint at a forgotten cult, or knowledge transferred from distant lands? Might this pharaoh have been a custodian of arcane wisdom, a guardian of secrets that history prefers to keep buried? Scientific examination of the tomb and its contents has offered tantalizing clues but no definitive answers. Radiocarbon dating confirms the site's antiquity, consistent with the New Kingdom period. Mineral analyses indicate materials sourced from distant quarries, attesting to the pharaoh's wealth and status. Yet no inscriptions clearly state his name, titles, or deeds. Is it possible that this pharaoh ruled in secret, or was placed there by those who wished to rewrite history? modern Egyptologists debate the legitimacy of such theories, reminding us that gaps in the record are common, and cautioning against the allure of mystery overshadowing evidence. But the questions remain stubbornly present. What story lies behind the faceless mask? What forces compelled the erasure of identity in such a permanent and symbolic way? The faceless mask, smooth and cold beneath the flickering torchlight, invites us to ponder the nature of identity itself. Is identity something fixed, carved in stone and preserved through time? Or is it something more fragile, subject to erasure, transformation, or concealment? As we stand before this silent relic of a forgotten king, we are reminded that history is never as settled as it seems. Some stories remain deliberately incomplete, waiting for new eyes, new tools, and new voices to uncover what has been lost. What truths might still be hidden beneath the sands, beneath the layers of plaster and pigment, waiting for us to see beyond the faceless mask? The mystery of the faceless Pharaoh endures, a silent echo in the endless desert, inviting us to look deeper and wonder, who was he really? And why did he choose, or was forced, to vanish without a face? From the enigmatic whispers of ancient alchemists and their elusive scrolls, our journey now leads us into the heart of stone, into temples where silence is deceiving, and the very architecture seems alive with sound. These are places where voices linger long after the last worshiper has departed, where stone walls and cavernous chambers seem to hold secrets not only in their inscriptions but in the echoes they preserve. Welcome to the mystery of voices in the stone, the sound technology of ancient temples. Picture a vast temple carved into sheer rock or constructed from massive blocks of stone, rising against the backdrop of sky or desert. The air inside feels charged, almost expectant. Step within, and you might notice something unusual. Not the chants or hymns themselves, but how sound behaves differently here. A whispered word can travel across the hall. A subtle hum resonates with uncanny clarity, and tones seem to bend and fold upon themselves, creating an auditory experience that modern acoustics struggle to fully explain. Such phenomena have been documented in a variety of ancient sites around the world, from the sacred chambers of Egypt's Karnak Temple to the mystical stone circles of Britain and the grand hypostyle halls of the Mayan pyramids in Central America. Archaeologists and sound engineers alike have studied these spaces, uncovering deliberate architectural designs that manipulate sound waves in ways both functional and symbolic. In Karnak, for example, narrow corridors and precisely angled pillars appear to amplify certain frequencies, allowing priests' chants to carry through vast halls during rituals. In some Mayan temples, stone carvings and ceiling designs create reverberations that mimic natural sounds. Bird calls, rustling leaves, even the rush of water, blurring the line between nature and constructed space. Such acoustic engineering speaks to an advanced understanding of sound, an ancient technology perhaps lost over millennia. Verified research reveals that many of these temples were carefully designed to enhance the spiritual experience, using sound to induce trance-like states or communicate with the divine. The interaction between human voice, stone surfaces, and architectural layout was far from accidental. The precise angles, the choice of materials, and the scale of these temples contribute to soundscapes that could evoke awe, fear, or transcendence. Yet, as we delve deeper, questions multiply. How did these ancient builders acquire such sophisticated acoustic knowledge long before modern science defined sound physics? Were these designs the product of trial and error over generations? Or was there a codified tradition of sound technology passed down through secret guilds of architects and priests? Beyond practical ritual use, some scholars speculate that these acoustic effects served other purposes. Could sound manipulation have been used to conceal hidden messages or codes, audible only to initiates who knew when and where to listen? Might the temples have functioned as resonant chambers for healing, where vibrations promoted physical or psychological well-being? Early prototypes of what we now call sound therapy? Further still, certain temples exhibit acoustic anomalies that defy easy explanation. At the ancient site of Chavín de Huántar in Peru, archaeologists discovered underground galleries where stone carvings resonate at frequencies that can cause physical vibrations felt in the body. Could this have been intentionally designed to produce altered states of consciousness or spiritual experiences? And if so, how far did this knowledge extend? Some fringe theories propose that these acoustic marvels were gifts from lost civilizations, or even influences from extraterrestrial visitors who imparted knowledge of sound as a universal language and power. Others suggest a cosmic connection, that temple acoustics align with planetary cycles or celestial harmonics, making the stones themselves conduits between earth and sky. While captivating, such theories lack solid evidence and remain speculative. What remains indisputable, however, is that the relationship between ancient architecture and sound was deeply intentional and meaningful, integral to the sacred space's purpose. Modern experiments continue to explore these acoustic mysteries. Scientists use lasers, sound mapping, and computer modeling to recreate temple soundscapes, discovering how vibrations travel, interfere, and amplify within stone walls. Musicians and sound artists attempt to replicate ancient chants, seeking to unlock the emotional and spiritual power these environments once held. Despite these advances, much about the sound technology of ancient temples remains elusive. The precise methods, the full extent of knowledge, and the cultural significance of these sonic experiences have yet to be fully understood. As we stand within the silent stones, hearing the echoes of voices long gone, we are reminded that history's mysteries often resonate beyond words and images. Sometimes the past speaks to us in waves and vibrations, whispers encoded in architecture, waiting patiently for those who listen carefully enough to hear. What other secrets might be hidden in the interplay of stone and sound? What ancient knowledge still hums beneath the surface, inviting discovery? The mystery endures, waiting in the shadows of sacred spaces, in the lingering echoes of voices carved in stone. From the whispered echoes of ancient temples and their secret soundscapes, our gaze now turns skyward, beyond the Earth's atmosphere to a shadowy enigma orbiting silently above us. The mysterious object known as the Black Knight satellite, a phenomenon that has captured imaginations for decades. Its story blends observation, speculation, and unanswered questions, hovering at the intersection of science, myth, and the unknown. The Black Knight satellite first emerged in public awareness during the late 1950s and early 1960s, a time when humanity was just beginning to venture into space. Early radio signals of uncertain origin were detected by observatories around the world, puzzling scientists with their peculiar patterns. Around the same period, various unidentified objects were tracked in orbit, sparking curiosity and debate. Over time, the legend of a dark, tumbling satellite, unlike any known man-made craft, began to take shape. A silent sentinel orbiting Earth for unknown purposes and origins. Visual records added fuel to the mystery. In 1998, during the Space Shuttle Endeavour's STS-88 mission, the first shuttle flight to the International Space Station, astronauts captured images of a strange object floating nearby. While NASA explained the object as space debris or thermal blankets accidentally lost during a spacewalk, enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists pointed to these photos as possible evidence of the elusive Black Knight satellite. Its irregular shape and unexplained presence seem to defy straightforward explanation. But what is the Black Knight satellite really? From an established scientific perspective, most experts consider the story a composite of misunderstood observations, space debris, and a series of coincidental events later woven into a compelling narrative. The 1950s radio signals, for example, are now often attributed to early Sputnik transmissions or natural cosmic phenomena. The mysterious object in shuttle photos is widely accepted as man-made material that inadvertently escaped spacecraft. In this view, the Black Knight is less an alien artifact and more a myth born from the complex environment of space and human imagination. Yet this rational explanation does not fully extinguish the mystery. Some features of the Black Knight's story remain puzzling. The consistency of reports over decades, the range of unexplained signals recorded, and the lack of any official confirmation or denial from space agencies. How is it that this object, if it exists, has evaded clear identification despite extensive monitoring of near-Earth space? Why do these stories persist across generations and cultures, weaving themselves into the fabric of space lore? Speculative theories offer intriguing possibilities. Some propose the Black Knight is an extraterrestrial probe, an ancient sentinel placed in orbit long before humanity reached for the stars, tasked with observing Earth and silently transmitting data back to unknown origins. Others suggest it might be a relic of a lost civilization or an advanced technology hidden from public knowledge. The concept resonates with the broader human fascination with watchers and guardians, hidden forces silently shaping history from afar. Beyond alien origins, the Black Knight has become a symbol of the unknown frontier in space exploration. It challenges us to question what we think we know about our cosmic neighborhood. How much of space remains unexplored, unmonitored, or misunderstood? Are there anomalies waiting to be discovered, artifacts drifting silently in orbit, or signals from the distant past embedded in the cosmic noise? More fringe ideas link the Black Knight to conspiracy theories involving secret government programs or hidden extraterrestrial alliances. Yet such claims lack verifiable evidence and often obscure the more compelling core questions about our place in the universe. Efforts to track and identify objects in Earth's orbit have grown increasingly sophisticated. Satellite databases, radar tracking, and international cooperation aim to catalog every piece of space debris and every functional satellite. Despite this, the night sky remains vast and largely unexplored in detail, leaving room for anomalies, whether physical objects or unexplained signals, to escape detection or defy simple classification. The Black Knight satellite, then, exists in this liminal space, between documented reality and speculative possibility. It invites us to listen carefully to the signals, to scrutinize the shadows cast by human knowledge, and to acknowledge that even in the age of advanced technology, mysteries remain. What truths might still be hidden in the silent orbit above us? Is the Black Knight a guardian, a myth, or something entirely different? As we continue to explore the heavens, these questions linger, echoes in the dark expanse, reminding us that the unknown is often closer than we think. From the silent sentinels orbiting high above Earth, our journey now descends to the crowded streets and twisting alleys of 16th century Europe, where a phenomenon so strange and unsettling unfolded, it has baffled historians for centuries: the mysterious deaths of the dancing plague. It began one summer in 1518 in the city of Strasbourg, nestled along the banks of the Rhine River. Imagine a warm July morning, the sun rising over a bustling medieval town, its market squares filling with merchants and townsfolk preparing for the day. But soon, a peculiar scene took shape. One woman stepped into the street and began to dance. Not in joy or celebration, but with a frantic energy that would not wane. She danced without pause, her feet moving in relentless rhythm as if possessed by some unseen force. Within days, dozens more joined her. The crowd swelled into the hundreds, each person seized by an uncontrollable urge to dance, twirling and leaping for hours, days, even weeks. Their faces reflected exhaustion and torment rather than delight, their bodies racked with pain and fatigue. Attempts to intervene, placing the dancers on stages, providing musicians to accompany them, even encouraging more dancing to work off the affliction, failed to halt the eerie procession. Historical records from the time are remarkably detailed. City council documents, medical reports, and eyewitness accounts describe the phenomenon with clinical precision. The dancing plague, also called choreomania, gripped the city with a terrifying persistence. By some estimates, dozens perished from heart attacks, strokes, or sheer exhaustion, their bodies surrendering to the relentless rhythm. What caused this bizarre epidemic? Theories abound, spanning the spectrum from the scientifically grounded to the deeply speculative. One widely accepted explanation points to ergot poisoning, a condition resulting from consuming rye bread contaminated with ergot, a toxic fungus that produces hallucinogenic compounds similar to LSD. Ergotism can cause muscle spasms, hallucinations, and convulsions, symptoms that might manifest as uncontrollable dancing. Yet, critics argue this theory struggles to explain the social and psychological dimensions of the event or why the dancing persisted for weeks in a coordinated manner. Others suggest mass psychogenic illness, what might be described today as a form of collective hysteria or mass stress-induced psychosis. At a time when Europe was plagued by famine, disease, and religious upheaval, the population's mental and emotional strain was extreme. Could the dancing plague have been a somatic expression of communal anxiety, a psychological release manifesting physically in a contagious dance frenzy? Further explanations delve into more obscure territory. Some propose religious fervor or superstition. Perhaps the afflicted believed they were cursed or possessed, driving them into trance-like states. Others speculate that local healers or clergy may have unknowingly contributed to the outbreak through rituals or suggestions aimed at expelling evil spirits. Intriguingly, similar outbreaks occurred sporadically across Europe from the 14th to the 17th centuries. Documented instances in Italy, Germany, and the Netherlands reveal comparable episodes of uncontrollable dancing, though none as prolonged or deadly as Strasbourg's 1518 event. These recurrent phenomena hint at a pattern, an echo of something deeper within the social or physiological fabric of the time. Could there be a forgotten neurological disorder, an ancient epidemic lost to history, or an environmental toxin yet unidentified? Or perhaps a complex interplay of cultural, psychological, and biological factors unique to that era. The mystery deepens when considering the societal response. Authorities reacted with a mixture of fear, superstition, and pragmatic attempts at containment. Churches held special prayers, councils enacted regulations, and physicians prescribed treatments now difficult to reconcile with modern medicine. But none seemed to stem the dancing's spread or its deadly toll. In the quiet moments of reflection, one wonders, what was the experience like for those caught in the plague's grip? Did they perceive their bodies as betraying them, or did they enter a trance-like state detached from pain and fear? How did their communities reconcile such inexplicable suffering with prevailing beliefs about health, sin, and the supernatural? The dancing plague of 1518 remains an enduring puzzle, a haunting chapter where history, medicine, psychology, and folklore intersect. It challenges our understanding of the human mind and body, of collective behavior under extreme stress, and the unseen forces that can ripple through society. As we contemplate this curious and tragic event, we are left with questions that continue to dance through the corridors of time. What unseen catalysts can seize entire populations? How thin is the line between physical affliction and psychological compulsion? And what shadows of human vulnerability still linger in the stories history chooses to tell? The rhythm of the past beats on, unresolved and enigmatic, inviting us to listen closely, to hear the faint haunting echoes of the dancers whose steps remain a mystery centuries later. From the frenetic streets haunted by the echo of relentless dancers, we now shift our gaze to a place of silence and isolation, a mysterious land that appeared suddenly on the horizon, only to vanish without a trace. This is the story of the island that appeared, then vanished forever, a haunting enigma that has puzzled sailors, explorers, and cartographers for centuries. Imagine the vast, restless ocean stretching endlessly beneath a sky thick with fog. Somewhere within that expanse, mariners have, at times, reported sighting a landmass. Rocky cliffs rising sharply from the sea, thick forests brushing against the sky, a shoreline promising refuge or riches. But when subsequent expeditions arrived, the island was gone. Not eroded, not obscured by weather, but completely vanished, as if swallowed by the sea itself. One of the earliest accounts dates back to the 16th century, during the Age of Exploration. Portuguese and Spanish sailors navigating the treacherous waters of the North Atlantic began to map territories for trade and conquest. Several recorded glimpses of an island somewhere between Iceland and Greenland, a place that appeared on some maps, yet was inexplicably absent on others. This phantom island, sometimes called Sandy Island or Bermeja, seemed to exist in cartographic limbo. Over the centuries, multiple expeditions sought to verify the island's existence. Some sailors described lush vegetation and a rocky shoreline. Others noted strange lights or atmospheric phenomena hovering above the supposed location. Yet time and again, attempts to find the island came up empty. Modern surveys using sonar mapping and satellite imagery have failed to detect any trace of land at those coordinates. So, how could such a place appear and disappear? What might explain the persistent sightings alongside the glaring absence of physical evidence? A straightforward answer could lie in the limitations of early navigation and cartography. Before the precision tools of modern science, sailors relied on rudimentary maps, dead reckoning, and sometimes even wishful thinking. Optical illusions, mirages caused by atmospheric refraction over cold ocean waters, known as fata morgana, could create the appearance of distant land where none existed. Clouds, icebergs, or floating pumice fields might have been mistaken for solid ground. But even acknowledging these factors, the consistency of reports over centuries is intriguing. Why would numerous independent witnesses describe an island with such specific features if it were purely imaginary? Some geologists speculate about transient islands formed by volcanic activity, especially in tectonically active zones like the Atlantic's mid-ocean ridge. Submarine eruptions can produce land masses that emerge briefly above the waves, only to erode or collapse into the sea within months or years. Could the vanished island have been one such ephemeral creation, a volcanic blink on the ocean's surface? Yet no recent volcanic activity or underwater anomalies have been conclusively linked to the reported locations. Nor do the supposed island coordinates correspond neatly with known volcanic hotspots. The mystery lingers. Could the island have been swallowed not by natural forces, but by some other, less understood process? More speculative theories dive into the realm of the extraordinary. Some propose the vanished island might have been a hidden outpost or refuge, deliberately concealed or erased from maps for political or military reasons. Was it a secret base, a lost colony, or a forgotten sanctuary wiped from memory to protect powerful interests. Others entertain metaphysical interpretations that the island exists in a shifting veil between dimensions, only briefly becoming visible when the conditions align. Such ideas, while lacking scientific grounding, reveal humanity's fascination with liminal spaces, places that hover between reality and myth, presence and absence. In literature and folklore, phantom islands are recurring motifs, symbols of mystery, loss, and the limits of human knowledge. They embody the ocean's vastness and unpredictability, a reminder that even with modern technology, nature retains its secrets. Could the vanished island represent something more than a physical location? Might it be a metaphor for the elusive nature of truth itself, a puzzle shaped as much by human perception as by reality? As we contemplate this island lost to time, we are invited to ponder the fragile line between what we can prove and what we can only wonder about. The ocean's depths guard many secrets, and not all are eager to be found. What other places might linger on the edge of existence, waiting for a moment to emerge or disappear again? And what does the story of this vanished island teach us about the mysteries still adrift on our ever-changing planet? In the end, the vanished island remains a silent enigma, its shores unseen but ever present in the collective imagination, an enduring testament to the mysteries that history and nature leave unresolved. From the legends of vanished islands lost to the restless sea, we now turn to the arid deserts of ancient Egypt, where a colossal monument, an obelisk so vast and unfinished, rests silently in the shadows of time. This is the story of the unfinished obelisk abandoned by the gods, a towering relic that continues to perplex archaeologists, historians, and all who stand before its massive form. Nestled in the granite quarries of Aswan, this monument is no ordinary piece of stone. Carved from a single block of pink granite, the unfinished obelisk measures an astonishing 42 meters in length and would have weighed an estimated 1,200 tons had it been completed, making it the largest known obelisk ever attempted by the ancient Egyptians. To stand beside it is to confront the sheer ambition and ingenuity of a civilization obsessed with permanence and the divine. But what makes this obelisk truly mysterious is not its grandeur. It is that it remains incomplete, forever tethered to the bedrock from which it was hewn. Cracks developed in the granite during its carving, forcing the ancient craftsmen to abandon their colossal task. The exact reasons for this sudden abandonment remain uncertain, but the obelisk has since become a silent testament to human endeavor interrupted, a monolith frozen mid-creation. The quarry site itself offers invaluable insight. Surrounding the unfinished obelisk lie marks and tools that reveal ancient techniques of stoneworking, methods so advanced that modern engineers remain fascinated. The granite was quarried using primitive tools such as dolerite pounding stones and wooden wedges, but the precision of the cuts and the sheer scale of the project suggest a mastery of technique that still invites admiration. Historical records tell us that obelisks were more than monumental stones. They were symbolic pillars, believed to connect the earth to the heavens, erected to honor the sun god Ra and to immortalize Pharaoh's legacies. The scale of the unfinished obelisk indicates it was intended for a great temple, a beacon of divine power. Its incompletion then raises questions. What prevented its completion? Was it a technical failure, a shift in political will, or something else entirely? Some Egyptologists argue that the crack which appeared during its carving was simply an unfortunate accident, an inherent risk when working with massive blocks of stone. Quarrying such enormous monoliths was a delicate process, and even a small fissure could render a piece unusable. From this perspective, the abandonment was practical, a decision born from necessity. Yet the obelisk's abandonment has also inspired more enigmatic interpretations. Could there have been a divine or supernatural cause, an ancient curse or omen, that compelled workers to halt their labors? Local legends sometimes speak of stones rejected by the gods, imbued with spiritual power or warnings. Was this obelisk, in its fractured state, considered unfit for a sacred purpose, destined to remain as a monument to failure rather than triumph? The sheer size and scale of the obelisk also provoke technological speculation. How did ancient Egyptians plan to transport and erect such a colossal stone? The logistics alone are staggering, moving a nearly 1,200-ton monolith across desert sands in the Nile, then raising it vertically without modern machinery. Experimental archaeology has demonstrated some plausible methods involving sledges, ramps, and manpower, yet no definitive answer exists. Was the unfinished obelisk's abandonment connected to these insurmountable practical challenges? Moreover, the site reveals a fascinating glimpse into the planning and organization of ancient monumental construction. The quarry acted not only as a source of stone, but as a testing ground, a place where the limits of material and human effort were explored. Does the unfinished state of this obelisk reflect a moment of transition in Egyptian history, where changing political powers or economic pressures curtailed grandiose projects? Intriguingly, the unfinished obelisk's story resonates with other abandoned or incomplete ancient monuments around the world. Structures halted abruptly in their construction, leaving behind a riddle about human ambition and limitations. What do these relics teach us about the civilizations that built them, their beliefs, and the mysteries they left behind? While modern technology allows us to study the obelisk in extraordinary detail, using laser scanning, 3D modeling, and geochemical analysis, many questions remain. Was the crack in the granite the sole reason for abandonment, or did other unknown factors influence this sudden cessation? Did ancient Egyptian workers leave records or oral traditions that might shed light on this monumental pause? As we stand before this monumental slab, still anchored to its quarry after thousands of years, we face not only a feat of engineering, but a symbol of mystery. The unfinished obelisk invites us to reflect on the delicate balance between human aspiration and the forces, natural, spiritual, or political, that shape the course of history. What deeper secrets might the granite hold? Are there stories embedded in its cracks and textures, waiting to be uncovered by future generations? And as we peer into the past, how much of the obelisk's story is still buried beneath the sands of time, veiled by the silence of the desert? The unfinished obelisk remains a stone sentinel, watching over the Nile, its silent presence a testament to mysteries unfinished and perhaps unfinishable by human hands. From the colossal stones of the unfinished obelisk, our journey now descends deep beneath the earth to a labyrinthine network carved long ago, an ancient subterranean city that stirs both awe and questions that linger in shadow. Welcome to Derinkuyu, a vast underground complex in the heart of Cappadocia, Turkey, sometimes whispered of as the gate to the underworld. At first glance, the landscape above Derinkuyu is marked by the fairy chimneys and rugged rock formations characteristic of this volcanic region. But it is below, beneath the sunlit surface, where the true wonder lies. An intricate city sprawling over multiple levels, carved entirely by human hands from the soft volcanic tuff. As explorers descend its narrow stairways and wind through its dim corridors, they find a civilization preserved in stone, a testament to ingenuity and mystery. Discovered only in the 1960s, Derinkuyu's depths extend some 60 meters underground, revealing living quarters, communal spaces, storage rooms, chapels, wells, and ventilation shafts. The city could shelter an estimated 20,000 people, providing refuge in times of danger. Ingeniously designed stone doors could seal passages from the inside. Defensive traps guarded corridors, and a complex ventilation system allowed fresh air to reach even the lowest chambers. The historical record is scarce, but the most accepted explanation suggests Derinkuyu was built by the Phrygians or early Christian communities as a refuge from invasions and persecution, possibly during Byzantine or early medieval times. The region's turbulent history supports this theory. Successive waves of invaders and religious conflict made such subterranean sanctuaries a practical necessity. Yet, as we explore the corridors and chambers, questions arise that reach beyond practical explanations. The sheer scale of Derinkuyu is staggering, especially considering the technology available to its builders. What drove the inhabitants to undertake such a monumental excavation? Was it simply survival, or was there a deeper, perhaps spiritual motivation behind this descent into the earth? Some scholars note that Derinkuyu and similar underground cities are not isolated phenomena. Cappadocia is peppered with hundreds of these subterranean refuges, some interconnected by tunnels stretching for kilometers. Could this vast network suggest a complex, secretive society with knowledge lost to time? And if these cities served as sanctuaries, what threats were so profound that entire communities chose to live beneath the surface for extended periods? Local folklore adds layers of intrigue, describing Derinkuyu as a gate to the underworld, a passage to another realm. These stories resonate with ancient mythologies worldwide that portray underground worlds as domains of the dead or spirit worlds. Did the builders of Derinkuyu intend these tunnels to be physical protections, spiritual journeys, or both? Archaeological discoveries within the city reveal spaces that might have had ritualistic purposes. Chapels, altars, and carved niches hint at religious practices intertwined with daily life underground. Could Derinkuyu have been more than a refuge? Might it have served as a sacred place where the boundary between the living world and the afterlife was thin? Adding to the enigma, Derinkuyu's deepest levels include water wells and ventilation shafts that seem extraordinarily well planned, suggesting a profound understanding of subterranean engineering. But some of these shafts extend beyond the mapped confines, disappearing into darkness. What lies beyond these unmapped passages? Were they escape routes, secret chambers, or pathways to something more mysterious? Speculation extends even further. Some theorists suggest Derinkuyu might have connections to lost civilizations or advanced ancient knowledge, possibly predating known history. Could this underground city hold clues to technologies or belief systems forgotten by time? Is it conceivable that the tunnels were designed not merely for shelter, but as part of a cosmic or metaphysical architecture aligned with celestial or underworld symbolism? On the other hand, skeptics caution against reading too much into these interpretations, emphasizing that the city's primary function was practical and defensive. Yet, even within this pragmatic view, the human story remains compelling. How communities persevered through hardship, shaping stone into homes, sanctuaries, and lifelines far beneath the surface. The mystery of Derinkuyu is also entwined with the unknown stories of those who lived and perhaps died within its walls. What memories echo through these silent chambers? What traces of fear, faith, and hope remain etched into the rock? The silence underground speaks volumes about a past layered with complexity, resilience, and unanswered questions. As modern visitors explore the city's twisting passages, guided by flickering lights and the echo of their own footsteps, the allure of Derinkuyu is undeniable. It is a place where history, myth, and mystery converge. A subterranean labyrinth that challenges our understanding of ancient human experience. What truths still lie buried beneath Cappadocia's surface? How much of Derinkuyu's story remains to be uncovered? And what might those discoveries reveal about the ancient world, and perhaps about ourselves? The gate to the underworld remains open, inviting contemplation and exploration, a monument not only to what was built, but to what remains beyond our grasp. Flowing from the hidden depths of ancient underground cities, where humanity's ingenuity carved sanctuaries in stone, we now turn our gaze to the very earliest traces of human expression. Prehistoric art that adorns cave walls, rocks, and monuments around the world. These ancient markings, etched tens of thousands of years ago, have long fascinated archaeologists and historians alike. But some among them propose a far more provocative question. Could these images be clues to visitors from other worlds, or perhaps whispers from time travelers themselves? Across continents, from the Lascaux caves in France to the enigmatic petroglyphs of the American Southwest, prehistoric art offers a glimpse into the minds and lives of our distant ancestors. These images primarily depict animals, hunting scenes, and symbolic patterns. Yet, scattered among these familiar motifs are figures and symbols that defy easy explanation. Strange humanoid shapes, unusual objects resembling modern technology, and abstract designs that challenge our understanding of ancient symbolism beckon us to look closer. The mainstream archaeological consensus views these artworks as cultural expressions, ritualistic, symbolic, or simply reflections of daily life. The recurring themes often represent spiritual beliefs, shamanistic journeys, or attempts to exert control over nature through art. Radiocarbon dating anchors many of these works firmly in the Upper Paleolithic period, placing their creators tens of thousands of years before the dawn of recorded history. But what about the anomalies? Some cave paintings appear to depict beings wearing what could be interpreted as helmets or suits. Others show what look like discs or glowing orbs hovering above the landscape. Certain petroglyphs resemble what modern eyes might interpret as spacecraft or flying machines. Are these simply products of imagination and metaphor, or are they visual records of encounters that transcend time and space? Speculative theories abound. Proponents of the ancient astronaut hypothesis suggest that prehistoric humans had contact with extraterrestrial visitors who influenced early civilization, sharing knowledge, technology, or even genetic material. These ideas gained popular attention through books and documentaries, often citing the mysterious imagery in caves as evidence of otherworldly interaction. Could these figures be early humans' attempts to capture these encounters on stone, filtered through the lens of their own understanding? Alternatively, some propose that these images might represent time travelers, beings who journeyed backward through the ages, their presence recorded unknowingly by early humans. This theory invites us to consider time not as a strict, linear progression, but as a fluid dimension where past, present, and future might intersect. Could these artworks be subtle records of visitors from our own future, glimpsed by ancient eyes? Skeptics remind us that human imagination has no bounds, especially in symbolic and ritualistic art. The shapes and patterns could be abstract or spiritual symbols whose meaning is now lost, easily misinterpreted by modern perspectives eager for extraordinary explanations. Moreover, cultural context is critical. Many ancient symbols are deeply embedded in the worldview of their creators, and projecting modern technological interpretations onto them risks misunderstanding. Archaeologists also point to ethnographic parallels. Many indigenous cultures use symbolic and abstract motifs in art that may appear strange or alien to outsiders, yet hold profound cultural significance. These motifs often relate to myths, cosmology, or trance states. Could the unusual images be metaphorical rather than literal? Yet, despite the caution, the mystery endures. Why do so many cultures separated by vast distances and time produce art with startlingly similar enigmatic symbols? Is there a universal language encoded in prehistoric art that we have yet to decipher? Or might these images hint at shared experiences, whether earthly or beyond, that connect disparate peoples across time? Modern technology has opened new pathways for exploration. High-resolution imaging and digital reconstruction reveal details invisible to the naked eye, uncovering layers of paint and alterations that suggest complex storytelling and deliberate design. Experimental archaeology attempts to reconstruct ancient pigments and techniques, adding depth to our understanding of the artist's skills and intentions. Yet each discovery often raises more questions than answers. Were the helmeted figures stylized humans in ritual garb, or representations of something else entirely? Are the glowing orbs simply symbolic depictions of celestial phenomena, or do they hint at something more? As we peer deeper into these prehistoric galleries, we confront a fundamental challenge: how to balance imagination with evidence, wonder with skepticism. What stories did these ancient artists intend to tell? Were they simply chronicling their world, or were they reaching toward something beyond their time and place? The cave walls are silent now, their pigments faded but persistent. They invite us to listen, not just to the visible images, but to the gaps between them, the spaces where meaning has slipped away. What truths might still be hidden beneath layers of stone and pigment, waiting to be understood? Perhaps these early works are more than art. Perhaps they are messages, echoes from a time long past, or signals from beyond our current comprehension. And as we stand in the dim glow of these ancient chambers, we are reminded that history is not just a record of what we know, but a mirror reflecting the mysteries we have yet to unravel. From the silent echoes of prehistoric art, where human imagination first met the mysteries of the cosmos, we now journey to the heart of medieval Europe, to a city whose skyline is dominated by spires, stone, and one extraordinary timepiece, the Prague Astronomical Dial. This remarkable clock, perched above the old town hall, has fascinated generations, not only for its ornate beauty but for the secrets it seems to hold beneath its complex facade. At first glance, the Prague Astronomical Dial appears as a masterful blend of art and science. A rotating disc layered with gilded astrological symbols, celestial bodies, and intricate mechanisms, all encased within Gothic architecture. Constructed in 1410 by clockmaker Mikuláš of Kadaň and astronomer Jan Schindel, it is one of the oldest functioning astronomical clocks in the world. Its dials chart not just hours and minutes, but also the phases of the moon, the position of the sun in the zodiac, and even ancient Bohemian time. Yet, beyond the technical marvel, the clock has long inspired wonder and whispers of enigma. How did medieval craftsmen achieve such precision and complexity without the technology we now take for granted? The astronomical dial defies easy classification. Part timekeeping device, part celestial map, part philosophical statement encoded in gears and gold. Historically, the clock served practical purposes, regulating daily life, guiding religious observances, and reflecting the medieval understanding of the cosmos. But its symbolism transcends mere utility. The figures that animate the clock's hourly procession, the apostles, the skeleton symbolizing death, the Turk, and other allegorical characters, create a living tableau, a timeless performance about life, fate, and mortality. What messages were intended for those who first gazed upon this spectacle? For centuries, stories have surrounded the clock's origins. One of the most enduring legends claims that the clockmaker was blinded after completing his masterpiece, to prevent him from replicating such a marvel elsewhere. Though likely apocryphal, this tale speaks to the reverence and fear that the clock inspired. Modern studies reveal the astronomical dial's complexity goes beyond mere timekeeping. Its design incorporates multiple time systems: Old Czech time counting hours from sunset, Babylonian time dividing daylight into unequal parts, and sidereal time tracking stars' movements. Such sophisticated astronomical knowledge suggests its creators were far more advanced in celestial observation than commonly assumed. And yet, anomalies persist. Some observers have noted subtle irregularities in the clock's mechanisms that cannot be fully explained by known medieval engineering. Could these quirks hint at lost techniques or secret knowledge passed down through hidden channels? More intriguing still are the esoteric theories that have emerged over time. Some suggest the clock encodes secret messages, astrological, alchemical, or even prophetic. Its dial aligns with celestial cycles, but might it also be a cosmic calendar, marking significant events hidden from plain sight? Could the figures and symbols be allegories for deeper spiritual or mystical truths? In the 20th century, researchers explored connections between the clock and esoteric traditions, linking it to the Hermetic arts, Freemasonry, or even a hidden language of symbols embedded within Prague's architecture. While mainstream historians caution against overinterpretation, these speculations invite us to consider the clock not only as a technological artifact, but as a vessel of mystery, an enigma forged in metal and time. The clock's resilience is itself remarkable. Despite wars, fires, and reconstructions, the astronomical dial continues its ceaseless dance, marking time while holding its secrets close. Every hour, the figures emerge, the dial spins, and the centuries-old mechanism bridges past and present. But what lies beneath the surface of this medieval masterpiece? Are there undiscovered chambers, lost manuscripts, or cryptic inscriptions waiting to be found within the old town hall? Does the clock's design conceal a code yet to be cracked, or a message meant only for those who can read the language of stars and gears? As day fades into night and the city lights cast shadows on the dial's ornate face, the Prague astronomical clock remains a symbol of humanity's quest to grasp time and cosmos alike. It stands not only as a testament to medieval ingenuity, but as a reminder of the mysteries that endure, hidden in plain sight. What secrets pulse within its turning wheels? How much do we truly understand about this clock that shouldn't exist, in its perfect blend of art, science, and mystery? And what might future discoveries reveal about the minds that dreamed it into being so many centuries ago? The hands of the clock keep moving, but the answers remain suspended in time, inviting us to look closer, listen deeper, and wonder. From the turning wheels of medieval ingenuity, we now ascend thousands of feet into the chilling heights of the Andes Mountains, where a silent figure has rested for centuries beneath layers of ice and snow. Known simply as the Frozen Girl of the Andes, this remarkably preserved young woman has become an enigmatic whisper from the past, an icy enigma that continues to intrigue scientists, historians, and seekers of the unknown alike. Discovered in 1995 on the summit of Mount Lulailaco, one of the highest active volcanoes in the world, the Frozen Girl, often referred to as La Doncella or the Maiden, was found alongside two other children, all remarkably preserved in the cold, dry air at nearly 22,000 feet above sea level. The discovery stunned the archaeological community. Her skin, hair, and even eyelashes were intact, frozen in time for more than 500 years. Such preservation is rare and offers an extraordinary glimpse into a world long vanished. The site itself, perched on the rim of a volcano, raises immediate questions. Why would children, so young and vulnerable, be left at such an inhospitable altitude, far from any settlement? Scientific investigation has revealed signs that La Doncella and her companions were part of a ritual sacrifice performed by the Inca civilization, a practice intended to appease gods and ensure harmony between humans and nature. Yet the exact circumstances, motivations, and meanings behind this sacrifice remain shrouded in mystery. Careful study of the frozen girl's remains has yielded fascinating insights. Forensic analysis indicates she died peacefully, perhaps drugged with coca leaves and alcohol, surrounded by ceremonial offerings including finely woven textiles, food, and figurines. Radiological scans show no signs of trauma, suggesting a ritual death rather than violence. But what inner world did this young girl inhabit? What did she understand of the sacred duty she fulfilled, and what thoughts crossed her mind as she ascended the mountain? Beyond the scientific explanations, the story of the frozen girl carries a haunting resonance. For many indigenous Andean communities, the mountaintop sacrifices were profound spiritual acts, gateways between the earthly and divine realms. In this context, La Doncella becomes more than an archaeological find. She is a messenger from a civilization whose cosmology intertwined deeply with the harsh landscape around them. Yet, even as the ritualistic framework provides a partial explanation, shadows of uncertainty remain. Why select children for these sacrifices? What was the criteria that made this girl in particular worthy of such a fate? Some scholars speculate that the chosen children were selected for their purity, nobility, or perceived closeness to the gods, but no definitive records survive. Could this have been a form of spiritual honor, or does it reflect a darker, more complex belief system? The circumstances of La Doncella's preservation also invite deeper questions. How much of what we see is shaped by the frozen environment, and how much might be clues to unknown practices or even lost knowledge? Could the careful placement of the bodies and offerings hold symbolic meanings not yet decoded? Some researchers suggest that the positioning, timing, and nature of the sacrifices were tied to astronomical events or cycles of the Earth, hinting at an advanced understanding of celestial rhythms. Fringe theories, though not supported by mainstream scholarship, have emerged as well. Some propose that the children's deaths were linked to extraterrestrial contact or cosmic rituals. Others speculate that the preservation of the bodies was intentional, part of an ancient method of spiritual stasis designed to preserve souls or knowledge until a future time. While these ideas remain speculative, their persistence underscores the profound human desire to interpret and understand such mysteries beyond conventional bounds. Technological advances have deepened our understanding without closing the case. DNA analysis, isotopic studies of diet and origin, and 3D reconstructions have painted richer portraits of La Doncella's life, yet they have also revealed the complexity of her world. A world where faith, environment, survival, and sacrifice intertwined in ways we are only beginning to grasp. The discovery also sparks reflection on the cultural encounter between past and present. How do we, centuries removed, relate to a young girl who lived and died within a belief system so different from our own? What responsibilities do we bear in preserving and interpreting her story? The ethical dimensions of studying human remains, especially those so intimately connected to ritual and identity, add layers of depth to this ongoing exploration. As visitors climb Mount Lulalico today, the frozen girl remains silent, her secrets locked beneath ice and stone. She embodies a bridge to the past, a frozen whisper that transcends time, inviting us to contemplate humanity's enduring relationship with mystery, faith, and the natural world. What remains hidden beneath the ice? What truths about ancient rites, spiritual beliefs, and human sacrifice continue to elude us? And in the quiet stillness of the high Andes, Does La Doncella still watch over the mountain? A sentinel guarding the mysteries of a forgotten age? The answers lie somewhere between science and spirit, fact and wonder, waiting for us to listen carefully to the whispers from the ice. Flowing from the silent whispers preserved beneath Andean ice, where time itself seems to hold its breath, we now turn our gaze toward another kind of ancient enigma, a collection of texts whose words have echoed through millennia, cloaked in mystery and portent. These are the Sibylline texts, cryptic prophecies, fragmented and elusive, said to foresee the fate of nations and, some say, even the end of the world itself. The Sibylline texts are not a single manuscript, but a series of prophetic writings attributed to Sibyls, female oracles who, in the ancient world, served as intermediaries between the divine and mortal realms. These Sibyls were believed to speak the will of the gods through cryptic verses, often delivered in moments of crisis or transformation. The texts bearing their name were gathered, copied, and revered by civilizations from Rome to Byzantium, their pages charged with warnings, riddles, and visions of the future. Visiting the remains of the ancient libraries and temples that once housed these prophetic scrolls, one can almost feel the weight of anticipation that surrounded them. The Sibylline books were guarded jealously, consulted only in dire times, when war threatened, when the gods seemed restless, or when the very fabric of society quivered. Yet, these texts were also shrouded in ambiguity, written in riddles, layered in symbolism, their meanings slipping between literal and metaphorical. Historically, we know that the Roman Senate acquired a collection of Sibylline books in the 3rd century BCE, following legend that the Cumaean Sibyl herself offered a set of prophetic writings to King Tarquin. When he refused the price she demanded, she burned 3 of the 9 scrolls and offered the remaining 6 at the same price, which he accepted. These books guided Rome through many crises, consulted for advice on religious rites and military campaigns. But the originals were lost during the sack of Rome, and what survives are copies, references, and fragments passed down through the centuries. Scholars have painstakingly pieced together these fragments from a variety of sources: early Christian writers, Byzantine chroniclers, and medieval commentators. What emerges is a tapestry of prophecy touching on themes of cosmic upheaval, social decay, divine judgment, and rebirth. Yet their cryptic nature leaves ample room for interpretation and speculation. Some of the surviving Sibylline verses speak of great fires consuming cities, seas swallowing lands, and stars falling from the heavens. Are these mere metaphors for natural disasters and political collapse, or do they hint at something more profound, portents of apocalyptic events beyond human control? The text's frequent references to cycles of destruction and renewal suggest a worldview deeply attuned to cosmic rhythms, but the specifics remain frustratingly vague. In more recent centuries, the Sibylline prophecies have been re-examined through various lenses, often emerging in times of societal anxiety. During the Renaissance, they were revived as part of a broader fascination with esoteric knowledge and hidden wisdom. Some occultists saw in the Sibylline verses a key to unlocking divine mysteries, a coded language through which the future could be glimpsed. Modern scholars caution against taking these texts at face value, emphasizing their historical context and symbolic style. They suggest that the Sibylline prophecies were not literal predictions, but rather ritualistic and poetic expressions designed to influence public morale and religious observance. Yet, the allure of their cryptic messages persists, inviting endless debate. Could these ancient oracles have glimpsed truths that transcend time? Or do their prophecies reflect timeless human fears and hopes cast in poetic form? More speculative theories propose that the Sibylline texts contain hidden knowledge encoded within their verses, numerical codes, astronomical references, or spiritual keys meant only for the initiated. Some have sought connections between the Sibyls and secret societies, imagining that their prophecies conceal encrypted warnings or instructions for humanity's destiny. The question remains: how much of what we read in these fragmented lines is shaped by later interpretations, and how much genuinely reflects an ancient understanding of fate and cosmos? Could the texts have been deliberately veiled to protect their deeper meanings from unworthy eyes? And if so, what truths lie hidden beneath the surface of their riddles? The Sibylline texts endure as a haunting testament to humanity's perennial desire to comprehend the unknown future, to seek guidance when facing the shadows of uncertainty. They remind us that prophecy is not merely about prediction, but about reflection, warning, and the search for meaning amid chaos. As we peer into the depths of these ancient writings, the words still murmur their cryptic riddles, inviting us to listen carefully, not only to what is said, but to what remains unsaid. What secrets of destiny, warning, or hope might still be concealed within the fragile remnants of these oracular voices? And in a world still grappling with its own crises and transformations, might the Sibyl's whispered truths resonate anew? The Sibylline prophecies continue to linger, enigmatic, incomplete, and compelling, waiting for each generation to interpret their haunting messages, to uncover what history alone cannot fully explain. Drifting from the ancient whispers of oracular texts, we journey now to the sun-drenched plains of Lebanon, where a colossal marvel stands in silent testament to a time lost in the shadows of history. Here, at the site of Baalbek, the earth itself seems to bear the weight of giants. Massive stones, some weighing hundreds of tons, arranged with an architectural precision that defies easy explanation. Baalbek's Temple of Jupiter, or Heliopolis as it was once called, rises from the landscape as a labyrinth of monoliths and massive blocks, whose sheer scale captivates all who approach. The largest of these stones, the famed Trilithon, consists of 3 monoliths, each carved from limestone and weighing an estimated 800 to 1,200 tons. These stones rest in place atop a foundation of equally immense blocks, some quarried nearby, yet far too heavy and unwieldy for ancient technologies as we understand them to have handled with ease. Standing amid the ruins, one cannot help but marvel at the craftsmanship. Smooth surfaces, perfectly aligned edges, and joints so precise they appear almost seamless. The temple complex dates back to Roman times, yet questions persist. How were such massive stones quarried, transported, and erected with the tools and methods known to historians and archaeologists? The official narrative, grounded in archaeological research, points to a blend of ingenuity and sheer human labor. Some theories suggest the use of earthen ramps, ropes, and thousands of workers coordinated over many years. Others propose that the stones were quarried nearby, reducing transport distances, with the Romans utilizing pulleys and cranes powered by human or animal labor. But these explanations, while plausible, leave a lingering sense of wonder. How could such heavy monoliths be maneuvered with the precision observed? Legends surrounding Baalbek amplify the mystery. Local folklore speaks of giants, beings of enormous stature and strength, who built the temple as a home for the gods. These tales are echoed in ancient texts, some attributing the construction to supernatural forces or ancient civilizations lost to time. The name Baalbek itself hints at a deep connection to ancient deities, Baal being a prominent god in the region's pantheon. Archaeologists and historians have uncovered layers of civilizations at Baalbek, Phoenician, Hellenistic, Roman, each adding to the site's complexity. But beneath the visible ruins lie massive foundation stones that predate Roman construction by centuries, perhaps even millennia, raising questions about the site's origins and the builders who first set the stage for this architectural wonder. In recent decades, some researchers have turned to more speculative ideas. Could the stones have been moved by lost technologies or forgotten engineering techniques? Might there have been a knowledge transfer from an earlier advanced civilization, now erased from history? Some propose that the temple's builders had access to levitation or anti-gravity methods, though such claims remain on the fringe of academic discourse. Others look to alignments with celestial bodies, noting that Baalbek's orientation corresponds with specific solar and lunar cycles, suggesting a deliberate connection between the temple's construction and ancient astronomy. Did the builders intend the site as a cosmic gateway or observatory, linking earth and sky in a sacred dialogue? The presence of enormous, precisely cut stones elsewhere in the world, from Egypt's pyramids to South America's megalithic sites, invites comparison. Baalbek's stones are among the heaviest ever moved by humans, yet similar feats appear across continents and cultures. Could these represent remnants of a shared ancient knowledge or civilization, now fragmented and obscured? Excavations have also revealed inscriptions and artifacts that hint at religious rites and ceremonies performed at Baalbek, reinforcing its role as a spiritual center. But what beliefs inspired such monumental construction? And what stories did the builders intend to tell through stone and scale? Modern technology, including 3D mapping and ground-penetrating radar, continues to explore Baalbek's subterranean mysteries. New discoveries may yet illuminate aspects of its construction and purpose, but for now, the site remains a puzzle, part history, part legend. As visitors walk among the towering stones, they confront a silent question. What hands first laid these foundations? What strength and vision were required to create a temple that challenges the limits of human capability? And beneath the layers of myth and archaeology, how much truth remains hidden, waiting for discovery? Baalbek stands as a monumental enigma, an echo of giants whose shadows stretch long across the ages, inviting us to ponder the boundaries between history and myth, human endeavor, and the mysterious forces that shape our past. From the towering monoliths of Baalbek, where ancient hands shaped stone with seemingly impossible mastery, our journey now takes us to the windswept highlands of Bolivia, to a site whose name echoes through the corridors of unsolved enigmas. Punku. Here lies a ruined temple complex that defies easy explanation, where a stonework challenges our understanding of ancient craftsmanship and raises profound questions about the people who built it and why. Punku, part of the greater Tiwanaku archaeological complex near Lake Titicaca, is a sprawling expanse of massive stone blocks, many intricately carved with precision and fitted together so tightly that even a single sheet of paper cannot slip between them. These stones, cut with an exactness that rivals modern engineering, possess edges so sharp and surfaces so smooth they seem almost machine-made. Some blocks bear complex geometric patterns and symmetrical holes, their purpose still a matter of debate. The stones themselves are extraordinary. Many are composed of andesite, a volcanic rock that is incredibly hard and difficult to work with. Yet at Punku, artisans shaped blocks weighing up to 130 tons with remarkable accuracy. The largest stones are often described as megalithic in scale and execution, some measuring over 7 meters long, and their transportation remains a mystery, given the rugged terrain and lack of obvious infrastructure. Historical and archaeological records tell us that Punku dates back approximately 1,200 to 1,500 years, associated with the Tiwanaku culture, which thrived in the region long before the rise of the Inca Empire. Excavations reveal a sophisticated society, knowledgeable in agriculture, astronomy, and metallurgy. Yet the methods used to carve, polish, and assemble the stones remain elusive. Mainstream explanations suggest that Tiwanaku builders utilized stone tools and labor-intensive techniques, including hammerstones and abrasion, to shape and fit the massive blocks. Evidence supports that these people had deep knowledge of geology and engineering for their time. However, the extraordinary precision, right angles, interlocking joints, and perfectly flat surfaces raises questions about the level of technology and craftsmanship available. Unlike other megalithic sites, Puma Punku's stones show features that seem designed for modular assembly: slots, hinges, and dovetail joints carved into stone, reminiscent of mechanical parts. What was the intended function of these shapes? Were they structural supports, symbolic motifs, or components of some ancient machinery long lost to history? Adding to the puzzle, many of the blocks at Puma Punku are broken or scattered, suggesting the site suffered destruction or collapse, but the cause remains uncertain. Some attribute this to natural events, like earthquakes or erosion, while others speculate about intentional dismantling or ritual deconstruction. Speculative theories abound. Some propose that Puma Punku was built or rebuilt with the aid of advanced technology now forgotten, perhaps passed down from a preceding culture whose knowledge did not survive. Others imagine extraterrestrial involvement, citing the precision of the cuts and the apparent lack of conventional tools as evidence for intervention beyond human capability. Skeptics caution against these interpretations, emphasizing the need to understand the site in its cultural and historical context. They point to recent studies revealing Tiwanaku's adept use of bronze tools, extensive quarrying techniques, and social organization capable of coordinating large-scale construction. Still, the question lingers. How did they achieve such extraordinary precision, and what purpose did these structures serve? Beyond the technical aspects, Puma Punku's location itself invites curiosity. Situated at an altitude of nearly 4,000 meters, exposed to harsh weather and extreme conditions, why was this site chosen? Was it a ceremonial center, a place of astronomical observation, or perhaps a hub for sacred rites and gatherings? The site's alignment with celestial bodies has been noted by researchers. Some blocks and doorways are said to correspond with solstices and equinoxes, suggesting the builders had advanced astronomical knowledge. Could Puma Punku have functioned as a calendar or observatory, encoding cosmic cycles into stone? Moreover, the cultural symbolism embedded in the carvings hints at a worldview deeply connected to nature and spirituality. Stylized motifs representing animals, deities, and cosmological elements appear throughout, weaving stories that remain partly deciphered. Modern technological methods, including laser scanning and 3D modeling, continue to reveal new details about Puma Punku's construction, but many questions remain unanswered. How exactly were these stones quarried, transported across difficult terrain, and assembled with such seamless joints? What was lost when the site fell into ruin? As we walk among these colossal blocks, the silence is heavy with the echoes of a civilization whose ingenuity transcends time. Puma Punku stands as a testament to human achievement, and a reminder of how much remains hidden beneath layers of earth and history. Could the stones themselves be a message, etched in precision and scale, waiting for us to decode their purpose? What truths lie buried beneath the fragments, challenging us to rethink what we believe possible? Puma Punku endures, an impossible puzzle carved in stone, inviting contemplation and wonder, its mysteries as vast and deep as the high plains that cradle it. 4.1 Mini. As we move forward through the corridors of history's most enigmatic stories, we now find ourselves drawn to one of literature's darkest and most intriguing figures, the poet and writer Edgar Allan Poe. Known for his tales of madness, mystery, and the macabre, Poe's final days on this earth remain shrouded in uncertainty, a riddle that even his most dedicated biographers have struggled to solve. His sudden and puzzling disappearance from the world, followed by his mysterious death, has sparked endless speculation, conspiracy theories, and investigations that continue to this day. It was a quiet October evening in 1849 when Poe's journey took an abrupt turn. Just a few months earlier, he had been at the height of his creative powers, publishing some of his most famous works, such as The Fall of the House of Usher and The Telltale Heart. His poetry, filled with vivid imagery and a sense of melancholy, resonated with readers, and he had gained a reputation as one of America's most celebrated literary minds. Yet, in the days leading up to his death, Poe seemed distant, disoriented, and plagued by an unsettling series of events that no one could quite explain. On September 27, 1849, Poe left his home in Richmond, Virginia, to travel to Philadelphia. The purpose of his trip remains unclear, but it was rumored that he was planning to secure a publisher for his work and perhaps begin a new chapter in his career. He made stops along the way, but when he arrived in Baltimore on October 3rd, something strange began to unfold. Poe was found, delirious and incoherent, wandering the streets of the city in a state of extreme confusion. He was taken to a hospital where he was found to be in a dire condition. His clothes were disheveled, and his mind was clouded, as if he were gripped by some unseen force. Despite the best efforts of his doctors, Poe's condition only worsened. He was unable to explain what had happened to him, and his words, when he could speak at all, were jumbled and nonsensical. "I am a poor man," he reportedly said. "I have no home." Some sources claim that Poe uttered the name Reynolds repeatedly, but no one knows who this person might have been. In his final days, Poe was locked in a state of feverish delirium, unable to communicate any clear thoughts or explanations for the events that had led him to that point. On October 7, 1849, just 4 days after being found, Poe succumbed to his mysterious illness. His death, at the age of 40, was officially attributed to congestion of the brain, a diagnosis that was common at the time but is now regarded as vague and inconclusive. Even in his final moments, Poe's enigmatic nature persisted. His last words, if any, have never been definitively recorded. Some accounts suggest that he whispered, "Lord, help my poor soul," while others claim he simply slipped into unconsciousness, never to awaken again. But this explanation has always felt incomplete, as if the true cause of Poe's death remains hidden just beyond our grasp. Was he simply a victim of illness, as his doctors claimed? Or is there something more at play here? Something darker, more sinister? Theories abound, each one offering a glimpse into a different possible truth. One theory suggests that Poe's death may have been the result of a violent attack. Some have speculated that he was the victim of a robbery gone wrong, with the assailants leaving him in the streets, battered and unconscious. Others point to the possibility of Poe being involved in a political conspiracy, citing the strange circumstances of his final days and the cryptic nature of his last words. Could he have been targeted for reasons beyond mere chance, perhaps because of something he knew or something he had written? There are also those who believe that Poe's death was connected to a more personal and tragic cause, his struggle with alcoholism. Poe's life was marked by bouts of deep despair, and he was known to drink heavily, often to the point of excess. Some biographers have argued that Poe's decline in his final days was the result of alcohol poisoning or withdrawal, both of which could explain the confusion and delirium that he exhibited in the hours leading up to his death. The physical symptoms of alcohol withdrawal can mimic many of the signs that Poe exhibited, such as agitation, confusion, and hallucinations. Was Poe's fate the result of his own demons? His internal battle with the bottle, which he had tried to overcome but ultimately could not? Yet, even this explanation leaves unanswered questions. Poe had struggled with alcoholism throughout his life. But why would he fall into such a severe and sudden decline just before his trip to Philadelphia? Why would he seem so suddenly and violently affected, as if something had triggered an immediate collapse of his health? And what of the mysterious name Reynolds that he muttered in his final moments? Could this person hold the key to understanding the last days of Poe's life? There are even more speculative theories that delve into the realm of the supernatural, as one might expect given the author's own fascination with death and the afterlife. Some believe that Poe's death was the result of an occult ritual gone awry, a final chapter in a life filled with strange obsessions and an affinity for dark, otherworldly themes. Could Poe have unwittingly fallen victim to the very forces he so often wrote about? Forces that defy logic and evade comprehension? These theories, while speculative, nonetheless tap into the sense of mystery that has always surrounded Poe's life and works. Then there's the possibility that Poe's death was caused by a more ordinary, though still mysterious, medical condition. Some have suggested that he may have suffered from a rare form of rabies, which could account for his confusion, agitation, and inability to communicate. Rabies can sometimes cause a person to enter a state of delirium and agitation, much like the symptoms Poe displayed in the days before his death. However, without conclusive evidence of an animal bite or exposure, this remains just another theory, one that adds to the puzzle without solving it. Poe's death, like much of his life, remains enigmatic. The circumstances surrounding his final days are as elusive as the meanings behind his works. Was it a tragic end brought on by his personal demons and addictions, or was it something far more mysterious, an event tied to forces beyond our understanding? Theories will continue to swirl, but the truth may be lost to time like so many other great mysteries. As we ponder Poe's final hours, we are left with more questions than answers. The silence surrounding his death, much like the dark themes of his stories, leaves us to wonder. What happened to the man who crafted some of the most haunting tales of terror ever written? And, perhaps more unsettling, what truths remain hidden beneath the shadow of his untimely death, waiting to be uncovered? The story of Edgar Allan Poe may never be fully understood, but it will continue to haunt us, as all great mysteries do. As we continue our journey through history's most haunting and unsolved mysteries, we encounter a figure whose name has become synonymous with fear and intrigue. He is known only as Unknown Man E, a mummified body unearthed in the Valley of the Kings in Egypt, whose tragic and violent end has left a lasting imprint on the world of archaeology. The name itself is chilling, the Screaming Mummy. The reason for this macabre title lies not in the manner of his death, but in the grotesque way his body was found, and the mystery surrounding his identity and fate. Imagine the scene: the dry heat of Egypt, the sound of winds sweeping through the arid land, the constant oppressive weight of history pressing down. In 1886, archaeologists in the Valley of the Kings, the final resting place of Egypt's most powerful rulers, discovered the tomb of a man who would come to be known as Unknown Man E. It was not the tomb of a king or a pharaoh, as the Valley of the Kings is so often associated with, but rather that of a lesser-known individual whose mummified remains would one day haunt the world. When his tomb was opened, what the archaeologists found was unlike anything they had expected. The body of the so-called screaming mummy was not positioned in the traditional, peaceful repose seen in most royal burials. Instead, his body was twisted and contorted, as though frozen in an agonizing death rattle. His mouth was open, his expression frozen in what seemed like a scream, a final, tortured cry that has echoed through the centuries. His body, like that of other mummies, had been wrapped in linen, but the position of his hands and face suggested that something had gone horribly wrong during his final moments. What happened to this man? Why does he appear to be in such distress? These questions have haunted archaeologists and researchers for over a century as they continue to try and unravel the mystery of the screaming mummy. The first hint of an explanation came through the discovery of the body's peculiar features. His position, mouth agape and limbs contorted, suggested a violent end. But what was even more striking was the state of his burial. Unlike the carefully planned and elaborate tombs of the pharaohs, this man had been hastily mummified, seemingly with little regard for tradition or ritual. His body had been hastily wrapped in linen, his limbs bound tightly, and there was no elaborate funeral mask or adornment, features typically reserved for nobility or royalty. Further examination of his body revealed startling details. He had suffered multiple blows to the head, indicating that he had been violently struck, possibly in a struggle before his death. The signs of trauma to his face and skull suggested that this was no peaceful passing, but rather an execution or a violent end, one that occurred rapidly and without ceremony. At the time of his discovery, the archaeological team was struck by the sheer intensity of his facial expression, frozen in time. His mouth was open, and his body was contorted as though in mid-scream, the result of agony or terror in his final moments. It was as though this man had been robbed of his dignity in death, his last moments of terror and pain preserved for eternity in his twisted form. Why was he found in this position? Why was his burial so unceremonious and unfit for the dignity of a typical Egyptian burial? Theories about the identity of unknown man E began to circulate quickly. Some speculated that he was a criminal, an individual executed for some heinous crime. Perhaps he had been a victim of political intrigue, a prisoner who had been publicly executed for some infraction, his final moments captured in his facial expression. This theory gained traction in light of his violent injuries and hurried burial. Could he have been a member of the royal court, someone involved in a power struggle, and executed in a brutal and public manner? His unusual position, after all, seemed more in line with an execution than a typical death from natural causes. But there were others who considered a more supernatural explanation. In the realm of Egyptian burial practices, there were some who believed that certain individuals who had met violent or unjust ends could become restless spirits. The soul of someone whose death was violent or unjust might wander the earth, unable to find peace in the afterlife. Could unknown man E have been one of these restless souls, forever trapped in a scream, a final expression of anguish that haunted his mummified body? This theory, though speculative, added an eerie layer to the already strange discovery. But despite the theories, the truth remains elusive. What truly happened to unknown man E during his final moments? Was he a victim of political intrigue, a criminal caught in a violent act, or simply an unlucky man who met a tragic end in a world rife with turmoil and conflict? Why was he buried so hastily? And why does his mummified body display such an intense and horrifying expression? The answers to these questions continue to evade us, and as new discoveries emerge, they only seem to deepen the mystery. As we continue to investigate the mystery of unknown man E, we are reminded that some questions may never be fully answered. The screaming mummy stands as a haunting reminder of the impermanence of life and the many secrets that still lie hidden beneath the sands of time. Whether he was a victim of violence, a figure caught in a web of political intrigue, or a man doomed to remain trapped in a scream, his story is one that continues to intrigue and haunt us, even as the centuries pass. Perhaps the most unsettling part of this mystery is that it raises more questions than it answers. Could there be more screaming mummies waiting to be discovered in other tombs, their stories yet untold? And, more importantly, what truths remain hidden in the mummified remains of those who lived and died so long ago, whose fates remain locked away forever? From the enigma of immortals and alchemists, our path now leads deep beneath the sands of ancient Egypt, where whispers speak of a vast and mysterious network hidden beneath the world's most iconic monuments, the labyrinth beneath the pyramids. Nestled near the ancient city of Hawara, south of the famed Giza Plateau, the so-called labyrinth has long captured the imaginations of explorers, scholars, and adventurers alike. Described by the ancient Greek historian Herodotus, who visited Egypt in the 5th century BCE, this sprawling complex was said to surpass even the grandeur of the pyramids themselves. His accounts speak of a massive architectural marvel, a sprawling network of over 3,000 rooms and corridors, intricately arranged and decorated, serving as an administrative center, a necropolis, and a repository of sacred knowledge. Herodotus described the labyrinth as a place where no man could find his way without a guide, emphasizing its complexity and scale. For centuries, these descriptions were dismissed as exaggerations or legend, until archaeological investigations began to reveal traces of an extensive underground structure beneath the sands. The remains of this labyrinthine network are primarily attributed to the reign of Pharaoh Amenemhat III of the 12th dynasty, around 1800 BCE. Excavations at Hawara have uncovered a series of subterranean chambers and corridors beneath his pyramid, with remnants of stone walls, carved reliefs, and signs of intricate design. Yet much of the site remains buried, inaccessible, or lost to time. Modern archaeologists have pieced together the physical layout, but the true purpose and extent of the labyrinth remain elusive. Was it a vast administrative center, a tomb complex, or a ritual site? The scale and complexity suggest a function beyond a mere burial place. Some believe it housed archives, official records, or sacred texts, ancient knowledge carefully guarded within stone walls. Herodotus also recounted tales of labyrinthine guards, secret passages, and enigmatic inscriptions, alluding to hidden chambers and treasures yet to be discovered. Despite centuries of exploration, much of the labyrinth lies beyond reach, concealed beneath millennia of shifting sands and decay. The mysterious nature of the site invites a range of interpretations. Some Egyptologists assert the labyrinth was a sophisticated symbol of the cosmos, reflecting the ancient Egyptians' beliefs about the afterlife and the journey of the soul. Could the complex layout represent a spiritual map or a metaphysical maze designed to protect the pharaoh's essence or the sacred knowledge held within? Speculative theories extend beyond these explanations. Some propose that the labyrinth was an ancient repository of forgotten technology or esoteric wisdom, perhaps linked to the construction techniques of the pyramids themselves, an underground library of secrets lost to time. Could it have housed texts or artifacts revealing knowledge that challenges our understanding of history? Others delve into more fringe territory, suggesting that the labyrinth was a gateway to otherworldly dimensions, or a site of contact between humanity and higher intelligence. These ideas, while captivating, remain outside mainstream scholarship, yet they underscore the depth of fascination surrounding this hidden world beneath Egypt's sands. Technological advances, including ground-penetrating radar and satellite imaging, have provided tantalizing glimpses beneath the desert floor, revealing voids and structures that hint at a far more extensive network than previously imagined. Yet, the harsh environment and fragile state of the ruins make excavation and exploration difficult and slow. How much of the labyrinth remains undiscovered? Could vast chambers lie silent, untouched, waiting to unveil their secrets? What stories would the walls tell if they could speak? Tales of pharaohs, priests, and ancient rites lost in the corridors of time. The labyrinth beneath the pyramids challenges us to consider the limits of what we know about ancient Egypt. It reminds us that beneath the visible grandeur of the pyramids and temples, there are layers of mystery still buried, inviting deeper exploration. As we peer into the shadows of these underground passages, we confront a profound question. What lies hidden in the heart of the labyrinth? Is it simply the remnants of an ancient administrative center or something more? An enigma wrapped in stone and sand, guarding the secrets of a civilization whose knowledge still eludes us? The echoes from beneath the desert invite us to listen closely, to wonder, and to keep searching. Because in the labyrinth's depths the past remains alive, whispering just beyond the reach of discovery. From the hidden depths beneath ancient Egypt's sands, we now shift our gaze across the vast Pacific Ocean to a remote island steeped in mystery and silent testimony. Easter Island. Here, on this isolated patch of volcanic land, stand the Moai, towering stone monoliths whose weathered faces have watched the horizon for centuries, their gaze both haunting and inscrutable. What secrets do these silent sentinels hold, and what was their true purpose? Easter Island, or Rapa Nui as it is known by its indigenous people, lies nearly 2,300 miles off the coast of Chile. Despite its isolation, it became the stage for one of humanity's most remarkable cultural feats: the creation and erection of nearly 900 Moai statues, some reaching over 30 feet tall and weighing many tons. These figures, with their elongated heads and stoic expressions, dominate the landscape, placed strategically on stone platforms called ahu, many facing inland, others toward the sea. The Moai were carved from volcanic tuff found at the Rano Raraku quarry, their creation and transportation a monumental task given the island's limited resources and technology. Yet the precision of the carving, the uniformity of certain facial features, and the scale of the statues raise profound questions. How did a relatively small Polynesian community mobilize the manpower and ingenuity to create these colossal works of art? Historically, scholars have interpreted the Moai as representations of ancestors or chiefs, embodying spiritual guardianship over their communities. Their placement on ahu platforms, often overlooking villages, suggests a role of protection, perhaps a link between the living and the divine. The islanders believed that the statues were imbued with mana, a spiritual power that safeguarded their people and land. However, many mysteries endure. The purpose behind the statues' positioning remains debated. Why do most Moai face inland, seemingly watching over the villages, while a few gaze seaward? Could their orientation correspond to celestial events, territorial boundaries, or other symbolic functions? Did they serve as markers of social status, territorial claims, or ritualistic significance? The transportation methods used to move the statues from quarry to their final platforms have long baffled researchers. Some propose a system of wooden sledges and rollers. Others suggest a rocking, walking motion that required precise coordination. Could these techniques have been far more sophisticated or ritualized than currently understood? How did the islanders manage to orchestrate such a feat without depleting their scarce resources? The Moai also embody the story of an ecological and cultural crisis. Archaeological evidence points to deforestation and resource depletion, possibly accelerated by the demands of statue construction and transportation. How did this environmental strain affect the society that created the Moai? Did it contribute to societal collapse or transformation? Beyond archaeological and environmental questions, some theories delve into more speculative realms. Alternative interpretations propose that the Moai were astronomical markers, aligned with solstices and equinoxes, serving as a calendar or observatory for celestial events. Others suggest extraterrestrial influence, noting the statue's enigmatic appearance and the island's isolation. Though such claims remain outside mainstream scholarship, they underscore the enduring fascination with the site. More recently, advances in technology have allowed for detailed 3D scans and geochemical analysis of the Moai, revealing clues about quarrying techniques, transport routes, and even potential symbolic motifs carved into surfaces previously overlooked. Yet, each discovery tends to raise further questions rather than offer definitive answers. What of the eyes of the Moai? Originally, many statues were inlaid with coral and obsidian to form eyes, believed to activate the spiritual power of the statues. The removal or loss of these eyes over time leaves the Moai with a hollow gaze, deepening their enigmatic presence. Was this act of opening the eyes a ceremonial moment of transformation, and what rituals surrounded this process? The island itself adds layers of intrigue. How did such a small and isolated community develop the complex social organization necessary for the construction of the Moai? Oral histories speak of powerful clans, sacred lineages, and religious traditions intertwined with the statue's creation. How much of this knowledge was lost or altered during centuries of colonization and upheaval? In the end, the Moai stand as mute witnesses to a vanished world, their stone faces carved from volcanic rock yet shaped by human hands and hopes. Their silent watch over the island poses timeless questions. What were they truly watching? Were they guardians of a spiritual realm, markers of social identity, or reminders of human resilience and creativity? And beyond their stone features, what lessons remain buried in the history of the Rapa Nui people, their achievements, their struggles, and their enduring connection to these silent monoliths? The mystery of the Moai invites us not only to admire their grandeur, but to reflect on the complex interplay between humanity, culture, and environment. What truths, if any, are still hidden beneath the stone? What stories have yet to be told? As the ocean winds sweep over Easter Island, the silent monoliths remain, watching, waiting. From the silent monoliths of Easter Island, we now turn our attention to the vast and unforgiving oceans, a realm where isolation meets mystery, and where the unknown has swallowed entire crews without a trace. Among these maritime enigmas, few stories resonate as hauntingly as that of the ship that returned without its crew. Imagine a sturdy vessel built to brave the harshest seas, cutting through the waves under a clear sky, only to come back to port eerily silent. Its decks deserted, its cabins empty. The very life that should have animated it vanished without explanation. This is the unsettling tale that has intrigued historians, sailors, and investigators for generations. The most famous case, often referred to as the ghost ship, centers around the Mary Celeste, an American merchant brigantine discovered adrift in the Atlantic Ocean in 1872, December 1872. Found sailing smoothly near the Azores, the Mary Celeste was in seaworthy condition, its cargo intact, provisions undisturbed, and no sign of struggle or violent incident. Yet, remarkably, the entire crew, Including Captain Benjamin Briggs, his family, and 7 other sailors, were nowhere to be found. The ship's fate sparked immediate intrigue. Logs and navigational equipment were still on board, pointing to no evident mechanical failure. Lifeboats were missing, suggesting the crew may have abandoned ship voluntarily, but under what circumstances? The ship's last log entry was dated 10 days prior, noting nothing unusual. Weather reports from the period indicated no severe storm in the immediate area. So, what compelled a seasoned crew to leave their ship, potentially into a dangerous sea? Over the years, numerous hypotheses have been proposed to explain the Mary Celeste's mystery. Some suggest a sudden and catastrophic event, such as a gas leak from the ship's cargo of alcohol barrels, possibly causing an explosion or toxic fumes that forced the crew to evacuate hastily. Yet, the ship showed no signs of damage or fire. Others theorize that the crew fell victim to piracy or mutiny. However, no evidence of foul play was found, and the ship's valuables remained untouched. The possibility of a sudden illness, psychological breakdown, or mass hysteria has also been explored, but there is little to substantiate these claims. Speculative explanations veer further into the unknown. Some maritime folklore speaks of supernatural forces, ghostly apparitions, sea monsters, or curses that lure sailors to their doom. Others suggest encounters with unexplained phenomena such as mysterious lights, temporal anomalies, or even extraterrestrial intervention. Despite extensive investigation, the truth remains elusive. The Mary Celeste's story echoes through maritime history as a symbol of the ocean's unforgiving mysteries, a vessel caught between the known and the unknowable. The tale of the Mary Celeste is not unique. Throughout history, countless ships have been found abandoned at sea, their crews missing, their stories lost to the waves. From the Carroll A. Deering, discovered off the coast of North Carolina in 1921, to more recent cases, these incidents challenge our understanding of the dangers faced on the open ocean. What circumstances lead to such disappearances? Was it a matter of natural disaster, human error, or forces beyond our comprehension? And what becomes of those who vanish? Do they succumb to the sea, vanish into thin air, or enter realms inaccessible to us? The sea holds many secrets, and the silent ships that drift aimlessly remind us of the fragile boundary between human endeavor and nature's vast, often merciless domain. As we ponder the mystery of the ship that returned without its crew, we are left with an unsettling question. In the boundless expanse of the oceans, how many more stories remain hidden beneath the waves, waiting, perhaps, to surface, or to remain forever lost? From the vast, enigmatic expanse of the oceans, our journey now takes us to a curious and puzzling artifact, a map unlike any other, whispering secrets of a time when the world might have been very different from what we know today. This is the story of an ancient chart that seemingly depicts Antarctica, not as a frozen wasteland, but as a continent free of ice, lush and detailed. A depiction that defies conventional timelines and challenges our understanding of history. Known as the Piri Reis map, it emerged from the early 16th century, meticulously drawn by an Ottoman admiral and cartographer named Piri Reis. In 1513, he compiled this striking chart from a collection of earlier sources, some of which, he claimed, dated back to the time of Alexander the Great or even earlier. The map notably portrays parts of the coastlines of South America and Africa with remarkable accuracy, but what has captivated scholars and mystery seekers alike is the lower portion, an outline that many interpret as the Antarctic coastline, complete with details consistent with land freed from ice. This notion is extraordinary because Antarctica was officially discovered centuries later, in the 19th century, and the continent has been cloaked in ice for at least 12,000 years according to scientific consensus. How, then, could a map from the early 1500s, based on even older sources, present a continent with coastal details invisible to modern eyes beneath thousands of feet of ice? Could the map makers have had access to knowledge lost to history, or is there another explanation? Piri Reis himself acknowledged the diverse origins of his map, claiming it was a compilation of about 20 source maps from various cultures, some allegedly from ancient explorers, and possibly even the mythical Library of Alexandria. This raises intriguing questions about the sources available to early cartographers and the extent of ancient geographic knowledge. Were there civilizations with advanced seafaring and mapping capabilities long before the accepted age of exploration? Mainstream historians argue that the Antarctic-like shape on the map is more likely a distorted representation of South America or misinterpretations of earlier, less precise maps. The limited surveying technology of the time, combined with artistic liberties, may have resulted in features that coincidentally resemble Antarctica's coast. Additionally, the map's partial and fragmented state leaves room for ambiguous interpretations. Yet, some researchers have found that the map's depiction aligns astonishingly well with modern, topographical knowledge of the Antarctic seabed, uncovered only through recent sonar mapping beneath the ice. Could this be a remarkable coincidence, or evidence of some unknown ancient surveying method? Further complicating matters, the map also features inscriptions and notes in Ottoman Turkish, referencing sources no longer available today, and reflecting an era where knowledge was fragmented, guarded, or lost through conquest and time. It is conceivable that fragments of genuine ancient geographic data survived in obscure ways, only to resurface in this unique document. Speculative theories abound. Some suggest that the map is evidence of a prehistoric advanced civilization, now lost, capable of global exploration and cartographic precision far exceeding what we attribute to the ancient world. Could such a civilization have charted the globe before cataclysmic events altered the planet's surface and erased much of their legacy? Others propose the possibility of extraterrestrial influence, or even time-displaced knowledge. Yet, none of these ideas have definitive proof, and they remain outside academic consensus. The scientific community stresses the importance of critical analysis and warns against projecting modern interpretations onto incomplete historical artifacts. Moreover, the Piri Reis map invites reflection on how knowledge is preserved, transformed, and sometimes misunderstood over centuries. It stands at the crossroads of myth, history, and science, a reminder that our past may be more complex than textbooks suggest. How many other artifacts, long hidden in dusty archives or submerged beneath shifting sands, might challenge our understanding of ancient geography and human capability? And what does it mean for our grasp of history if such evidence points to a lost chapter of exploration and knowledge? As we examine the Piri Reis map's faded lines and cryptic notes, we are confronted with a mystery that endures. Not just about a continent under ice, but about the stories buried within the fragments of history itself. What truths are encoded in these ancient charts? And what secrets still lie waiting beneath the frozen surface of time? From the enigmatic contours of ancient maps, we now return to a mystery grounded firmly on Earth. Hidden deep within the vibrant heart of southern India lies a place of both spiritual reverence and profound secrecy, the Padmanabhaswamy Temple. This centuries-old sanctuary, dedicated to Lord Vishnu, stands not only as a beacon of faith, but also as the guardian of a vault shrouded in silence and intrigue. Behind one particular sealed door within the temple's labyrinthine subterranean chambers, an enigma lingers, one that has captivated historians, treasure hunters, and believers alike. The temple itself is a masterpiece of Dravidian architecture, its towering gopurams ornate gateways carved with intricate detail, drawing countless pilgrims who come to worship. But it is beneath the temple, within its hidden vaults, where history's whispers grow loudest. In 2011, a monumental discovery thrust the temple into global headlines when vaults filled with unimaginable riches were unearthed. Gold, precious gems, ancient coins, and artifacts of immeasurable value, some believed to be over 1,000 years old. Yet among these riches, one door remained firmly closed. Vault B, a sealed chamber with no known key, its entrance marked by an inscrutable stone slab. The legend surrounding this sealed door stretches back centuries. According to ancient lore and temple tradition, Vault B is said to hold treasures so sacred, so potent, that even the temple priests and the royal custodians hesitate to disturb it. Some recount that the door was locked under divine command, protected by spiritual wards and curses, a boundary between the mortal world and the divine. Could this be merely symbolic caution, or is there a deeper reason that this vault remains untouched? Efforts to open Vault B have been met with extraordinary resistance. Technological means have failed. No ordinary lock mechanism or physical barrier has been discerned that explains why the door remains sealed. The stone slab itself is immense, carved with enigmatic symbols and patterns whose meanings remain obscure. Attempts at forced entry have been avoided, partly out of respect, partly due to the fear of consequences foretold in temple chronicles. Historical records of the temple and the royal family that once ruled the region, the Travancore dynasty, speak of vast riches entrusted to the temple's care, treasures accumulated over centuries through offerings, conquest, and piety. The temple was, and in many ways remains, a symbol of immense wealth and sacred power. Yet, the origin of Vault B's specific treasures is veiled in mystery. What could be so precious, so extraordinary, that it requires such unyielding protection? Scholars and archaeologists propose several rational explanations. Vault B might contain relics of religious significance, ancient manuscripts, idols, or artifacts critical to temple rituals. Others suggest that it may be a burial chamber for past rulers or revered figures, sealed to honor their sanctity and prevent desecration. Given the temple's long history, it is also conceivable that Vault B serves as a secure treasury for unrecorded or forgotten treasures, possibly linked to political intrigues of bygone eras. Yet the mystery deepens with stories from local folklore and eyewitness accounts. Some speak of a subterranean labyrinth extending far beneath the temple, possibly connecting to other temples or ancient sites. Whispers tell of hidden passages, secret ceremonies, and spiritual energies concentrated around the sealed vault. Could Vault B be the threshold to a hidden sanctum or an underground city lost to time? More speculative theories venture beyond the historical and archaeological into the metaphysical. Some propose that the sealed door guards knowledge, esoteric wisdom encoded in artifacts, spiritual texts, or ancient technologies beyond current understanding. Others imagine that the vault might hold objects linked to legendary powers, perhaps even connected to broader myths like those of the Ark of the Covenant or the Philosopher's Stone. While such ideas remain unproven, their persistence underscores the cultural and spiritual weight the mystery carries. Interestingly, scientific studies of the temple's architecture have revealed complex engineering techniques, drainage systems, ventilation shafts, and structural reinforcements that speak to an advanced understanding of construction and symbolism. Could these elements also serve protective functions, guarding not just the temple but the secrets behind Vault B? The Indian Supreme Court has weighed in on the matter, limiting access to the temple's treasures to safeguard their sanctity and security. This legal protection adds another layer to the mystery, as the balance between preservation, religious devotion, and historical curiosity continues to evolve. As modern technology advances, hopes rise that non-invasive methods, such as ground-penetrating radar, 3D imaging, or other remote sensing techniques, might one day reveal the secrets behind the sealed door without disturbing its contents. But for now, Vault B remains silent, a stone sentinel guarding its hidden story. What lies behind that formidable door? Are the treasures within merely gold and jewels, or do they include fragments of history, faith, and knowledge long concealed? Is this sealed vault a testament to human devotion and caution, or does it hint at truths waiting just beyond our reach? The mystery of the Padmanabhaswamy Temple's sealed door invites us to ponder the intersection of history, faith, and the unknown. Beneath the temple's ornate exterior, beyond the treasures already uncovered, a question endures. What remains hidden beneath that unyielding stone, and how much of history is still locked away, waiting patiently in the shadows? From the enduring enigma of hidden temple vaults, our journey now leads us high into the rugged, snow-dusted Himalayas, to a remote and tranquil mountain lake that has become one of the most haunting archaeological mysteries in the world. Nestled at an elevation of over 5,000 meters, ROOPKUND Lake lies frozen and silent for much of the year, its icy waters concealing a chilling secret, a macabre tableau of hundreds of ancient human skeletons, scattered across the lakebed like whispers from a long-forgotten past. Known to locals as the Skeleton Lake, ROOPKUND has fascinated explorers, scientists, and spiritual seekers since its skeletal remains were first documented in the early 20th century. The discovery of these bones, estimated to number over 600 individuals, was as startling as it was perplexing. The skeletons lie scattered haphazardly, many with skulls fractured or broken, their positioning suggesting a sudden and violent end. Yet for decades, the precise cause and timing of this mass tragedy remained shrouded in mystery. Initial investigations proposed natural explanations: avalanches, landslides, or a sudden environmental disaster that overwhelmed a traveling group. Some of the bones showed evidence of blunt trauma, leading researchers to theorize that a severe hailstorm or rockfall may have struck the group with deadly force. The region's unpredictable weather, with its sudden shifts and ferocious storms, certainly supports this possibility. But why were so many people gathered in such a harsh, isolated place? And how could a group of this size have fallen victim in such a way, leaving no survivors or clear records? Radiocarbon dating and forensic analysis have provided some clarity. The remains span several centuries, indicating multiple events rather than a single occurrence, with a majority dating back to between the 7th and 10th centuries. CEE DNA analysis reveals a surprising diversity of origins, including individuals from different regions of South Asia and even distant parts of the Indian subcontinent. This suggests ROOPKUND may have been a pilgrimage site or a stopping point along an ancient trade or religious route. Yet, no historical texts explicitly record such a catastrophic event here. The mystery deepens with the varied condition of the skeletons. Some bones show signs of healed injuries or old age, while others exhibit sudden fatal trauma. How did such disparate individuals come to perish in the same remote location at roughly the same time? Was this a single pilgrimage that ended in disaster, or a repeated calamity that befell different groups across centuries? Local folklore weaves an even darker tapestry. Some villagers speak of a celestial curse cast upon those who dared to traverse the sacred mountain pass during an ill-fated season, punishing travelers with a sudden hailstorm of deadly stones from the heavens. Others whisper of spirits or deities guarding the high mountain paths, delivering retribution to those who violated sacred laws or rites. Could these tales preserve memories of real, yet misunderstood, natural disasters? or do they hint at something more enigmatic, forces beyond natural explanation? Speculative theories have flourished. Some propose the skeletons are the victims of a rare meteorological phenomenon, such as a hailstorm containing unusually large stones, or perhaps even fragments of a comet, striking with lethal precision. Others suggest the possibility of a supernatural event or an ancient curse, reflecting the deep spiritual and cultural significance the Himalayas hold for those who live in their shadow. Intriguingly, no signs of widespread disease or poisoning have been found among the remains, ruling out epidemics as a cause. Nor is there evidence of warfare or mass violence. This absence of human conflict focuses attention on the natural environment, or perhaps on unseen, inexplicable forces. As modern technology continues to probe the lake's secrets, ground-penetrating radar and forensic techniques offer glimpses beneath the frozen surface, while genetic studies deepen our understanding of the individuals themselves. Yet each answer seems to raise new questions, layering the mystery with complexity rather than resolving it. ROOPKUND Lake remains a stark reminder of humanity's vulnerability amid nature's grandeur and unpredictability. The silent skeletons bear witness to lives abruptly ended, journeys halted, and stories untold. They challenge us to reconsider the boundaries between history, myth, and the unknown. What events led these people, from diverse places and times, to meet such a tragic fate in this desolate mountain basin? Was it a series of natural disasters, a celestial judgment, or something else entirely? Something beyond the reach of our current understanding. As the wind sweeps across ROOPKUND's icy surface, carrying echoes of forgotten voices, we are left to ponder the mysteries still hidden beneath the frozen depths. Reminders that even in the most remote corners of the earth, history holds secrets waiting patiently to be unveiled. From the silent, frozen remains in the high Himalayas, our exploration turns now to a shadowy figure, whose chilling legacy has gripped the American public for over half a century. The Zodiac Killer. A name whispered in fear and fascination, the Zodiac's story is not only one of cold-blooded violence, but also one of cryptic puzzles, coded messages, and a relentless taunt to law enforcement and the public alike. Among the many mysteries left behind by this elusive figure, none is more tantalizing than the series of unsolved ciphers, enigmatic puzzles that have defied decoding and continue to baffle cryptologists and amateur sleuths around the world. The Zodiac Killer terrorized Northern California during the late 1960s and early 1970s, claiming responsibility for multiple murders and sending letters to local newspapers filled with cryptic symbols and coded messages. These letters were more than mere communications. They were a psychological weapon, designed to provoke, confuse, and mystify. While some of the Zodiac's ciphers have been cracked, revealing chilling messages and insights into his mind, others remain stubbornly inscrutable, including the infamous Z340 cipher that baffled experts for decades. The Z340, sent in November 1969, consists of 340 characters arranged in a grid of symbols and letters. Despite extensive efforts using computers, manual cryptanalysis, and linguistic expertise, the code resisted all attempts at decryption for more than 50 years. It seemed an unsolvable riddle, a puzzle locked away in the mind of a killer who vanished without a trace. This persistence of mystery only deepened the legend of the Zodiac and the frustration of those seeking justice. In late 2020, a breakthrough occurred when a team of private citizens claimed to have cracked the Z340 cipher, revealing a message that echoed the Zodiac's sinister taunts and egotistical proclamations. Yet, even with this progress, the Zodiac's identity remains unknown, and some ciphers, letters, and clues still resist explanation. What messages might these unsolved codes contain? Are they random obscurities, red herrings designed to confuse, or do they hold vital clues to the Zodiac's motives, methods, or true identity? The case's official investigations, while thorough, were hampered by the technological limitations of the time, incomplete evidence, and a suspect pool that remains frustratingly large. Over the years, numerous individuals have been proposed as potential Zodiac suspects, ranging from local residents with criminal records to more obscure figures. Some have claimed responsibility, others have been cleared by DNA and alibi, but none has been conclusively identified. This ambiguity has allowed speculation to flourish. Was the Zodiac a lone wolf or part of a larger conspiracy? Did he communicate with accomplices through his ciphers, or were these puzzles purely a psychological game? Some researchers have suggested that the ciphers incorporate elements of occult symbolism, numerology, or complex linguistic structures drawn from foreign languages, adding layers of potential meaning or misdirection. Psychological profiles paint the Zodiac as a person driven by a need for control, attention, and infamy. His coded messages, sent to newspapers and police, were a deliberate attempt to manipulate the narrative and maintain a sense of power over the investigation. Yet the true reasons for the code's complexity remain unknown. Were they meant to conceal his identity, to challenge investigators, or simply to revel in the mystery he created? The cultural impact of the Zodiac Killer extends far beyond his crimes. His case has inspired books, films, documentaries, and endless online forums where amateurs and experts dissect every symbol and phrase. This collective obsession highlights the human desire to understand the incomprehensible, to solve puzzles that resist closure, and to bring light to the darkest corners of history. Despite decades of research, technological advances, and renewed public interest, the Zodiac's full story remains elusive. The unsolved ciphers continue to guard their secrets, silent sentinels of a mystery that challenges us to reconsider what we think we know about crime, communication, and the human mind. What lies hidden within those uncracked codes? Are they the final pieces to a puzzle that might one day reveal the Zodiac's identity? Or are they a carefully constructed maze, designed to confound and mislead, ensuring that the true story remains forever out of reach? As we peer into the shadows left by the Zodiac Killer's cryptic legacy, we confront the limits of our knowledge and the enduring power of mystery, reminding us that some secrets are written not just in ink, but in the silence between the lines, waiting for the day when they might finally be understood.